All right, guys, welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you are new. Thank you, as always, for taking time out every day to join the stream, to watch the channel, to watch the content. Today, we have more PlayStation topics to go over and discuss. Some pretty interesting ones, I think. Ones that I know people are going to be somewhat excited about. I'm excited about some of them myself. But also some topics that maybe are a little bit unexpected. I don't know. It depends, I guess, who you ask. But some of the topics, I think, are just a tad bit unexpected, mainly the ones that we're going to get to a little bit later on. But, well, actually, now that I think about it, there is one thing in particular that I think is kind of unexpected. Anyway, as always, thank you guys for being here. I'm going to go over these topics and let you know what it is we're going to be discussing today. Before I do that, though, I want to acknowledge New Soul 9's milestone chat here. He's been a member for 6 months, and he says, I swear, next generation PlayStation 6 should be fully centric on AI game development and shortening game development. Interesting. I actually am in disagreement with you here, New Soul 9. I have a significant concern about the role that AI is going to play in video game development. I know that it's going to play a role in video game development no matter what. There's no stopping that. I will actually look beyond video game development and say that I have a concern about AI in general. I don't think human beings are fully prepared to deal with the realities of AI as it continues to advance. Not necessarily the AI itself, but what it will be capable of doing and taking care of and replacing. That, to me, is the key word there that drives the most amount of concern. Replacing, right? When we think about video game development, when we play games, they're created by human beings. Everything you experience, at least mostly everything you experience, right? You assume, unless they're already using some kind of AI technology, who knows? But I assume that everything I'm experiencing in this game was handcrafted by another human being, right? Whether that's an art asset, whether that's a line of dialogue that was written, whether that line of dialogue is being spoken, right? I assume this is all coming from human beings. And here's another aspect of it, though, putting that side of it to the side and looking at what companies and corporations would do, what they could do with really advanced AI technology in this industry. I think the consumer has to be very concerned about this for the sake of the industry. If you love video games, if you like video games and you enjoy them, you need to worry about the advancement in AI in this industry and how the corporations will look to exploit that. Because make no mistake, if there's something that these corporations will do, is they will absolutely exploit that AI. And it could create a lot of problems. It could create a lot of problems on our end. It could create a lot of problems on the development side for developers, for voice actors. I think we're already kind of seeing early signs of potential problems popping up. But make no mistake, the moment that these corporate executives realize that AI can absolutely replace real human voice actors, it can replace real human developers, and it can maximize profits and save them money. That's exactly what's going to happen. And so because of that, I am not for this. I understand the one positive side to this, New Soul 9, is you're saying it could shorten game development. Yeah, that would be nice, but I'm not really worried about that. I'm not going to advocate or cheer on something like this, like, oh, yay, I have to wait 1 year less for a game, and it costs people their jobs and their livelihoods. Good stuff. Not going to root for that. I'm not going to cheer that on, just being honest. I would actually rather wait a year, know that the product I got was made by human beings, and knowing that these corporations are not just going to be able to exploit that AI technology and push, people to the side, because that's exactly what will happen. Although I feel like regardless of whether or not I support that, that very well could be the direction we go in. The times are changing, absolutely. So thank you for that chat, New Soul 9. And I'm going to give you guys a rundown of the topics that we're going to discuss today. Topic number 1 is one that I think some people will be very excited about. We are talking about FromSoftware making a new PlayStation 5 exclusive. We have not only previous evidence that suggests this is the case, but we now have a new rumor coming from what is said to be a well-respected and reliable Brazilian journalist giving us some new information about this. And it's all pointing to something that I think fans are going to be very excited about. We're also talking about, believe it or not, a Bloodborne movie, and how apparently this is something that is happening and it's currently in the works at Sony Interactive Entertainment. We're going to be talking about a new Sony hero project. Some of you may be familiar with this project that Sony has done in China called the China Hero Project. It turns out that Sony is looking to expand that, which I think is actually a pretty interesting and potentially exciting thing that they're doing. On top of that, we have a leak. Yes, it's an actual leak. It's not from some kind of insider or anything like that. It's an actual leak regarding GTA6 and some of the technology we can expect this game to bring to the table whenever it finally releases. And finally, we are talking about the Nintendo Switch 2, and we have an analysis that was conducted by Digital Foundry where they are giving us some information on what we can expect from the performance of the Switch 2. And I think this is going to be very relevant to not only just gaming in general, a lot of Nintendo fans here, but also how this could potentially impact PlayStation as well. So these are the topics that we are going to be discussing over the course of today's show. But before I dive into any of these topics, I want to take a moment here to let you guys know how you can support the channel, how you can support the content, and how you can support the show. Obviously, being here, watching the content, whether it's live or after the fact later on, it's greatly appreciated. The viewership means everything. If you want to help with YouTube's algorithm and also let me know that you enjoy the streams, take a second of your time and hit that like button. The algorithm will push this stream out in front of new viewers and we can continue to grow the community. And as I said, you can just let me know that you enjoy the stream. Now, there are 3 ways you can go above and beyond to support my channel and me directly. Those 3 ways are: number 1, becoming a channel member. By becoming a channel member, you gain access to some exclusive perks. And as I said, you get to support me directly. If you are already a channel member, you can gift channel memberships. So it's a great way to interact with the community and give back to the community as well as the channel. A lot of people get very excited when they get gifted channel memberships, and it's a very nice thing that community members here do, and I'm very thankful for that. And then finally, last but not least, you can consider donating a super chat. You can ask a question, make a statement, give an opinion, everything and anything in between. And it's always a nice thing that you guys do that definitely takes the conversations into some different directions. So before I dive into the first topic, as always, I just want to extend a big thank you to everybody who supports the channel. If it wasn't for that direct support, I wouldn't be able to continue putting out content and doing these streams and doing the show. I absolutely love being able to do it. And so thank you guys so much for that. But we are going to dive into the first topic here, which is once again talking about FromSoftware making a new PlayStation 5 exclusive. Now, we know that Sony has an extensive partnership that goes all the way back to the PlayStation 3 days with FromSoftware. I'm sure many of you know, but for those who don't, FromSoftware partnered with Sony to make Demon's Souls a PlayStation 3 exclusive. And unfortunately, when that happened, it didn't go as smoothly as you would have hoped or as you would have thought. at the time, it was Shuhei Yoshida, who seemingly did not believe in Demon Souls. He talked about this later on in his career, how it was a big mistake. But when it was happening, he really thought that Demon Souls missed the mark. It wasn't going to be a great game. And he just kind of viewed it as, we just got to get this thing out and move on. And so it was certainly a missed opportunity potentially with a studio like FromSoftware, because FromSoftware was still, rising up, relatively unknown, and or not nearly as big as they are now. And there was a real possibility that if Sony was impressed with Demon Souls, they could have made a play to try to acquire them at that time, potentially. But we know that they mended that relationship and that partnership. And then they came out during the PlayStation 4 generation with Bloodborne. And obviously Bloodborne was a hit with the Souls community and still lives on today in the minds of many. It's a game that is held in extremely high regard. And since then, FromSoftware honestly has only climbed the ladder. They've only gotten better at what they do. Obviously, with Elden Ring, they achieved a whole nother level of mainstream success. They basically became a household name. And so I want to just remind everybody before we actually get into what this rumor is saying, because unfortunately it's not giving us specific details about what this game is, but it tells us that it might be on the horizon. We need to remember that Sony made a minority investment into FromSoftware last year, and this investment, as stated by PlayStation Studios head Herman Hulst, was specifically for games first and foremost, but also for movies, for potentially TV shows and stuff like that. But he was sure to mention games as well. And it seemed kind of obvious to me that Sony was going to try to strike up a new deal with FromSoftware for a exclusive, action RPG. I mean, maybe Bloodborne 2, but now we get into where this is coming from. This is coming from a user who just goes by the name Brazil, at least on the Reset Era forums. But apparently this individual, like I said, does have credibility and is well respected. And over on Reset Era, they ended up saying, well, to be fair, they didn't say this on the forum. They actually said this on their stream, but it was kind of translated on Reset Era. And what he ended up saying during his stream is that FromSoftware is in fact making a new PS5 exclusive game. And then we actually got a little bit more information on this, where this person says, it's not my leak. I just happened to be watching his live stream when he shared this, so I can't say anything beyond that. As far as his professional reputation goes, he is a very respected gaming journalist with a lot of doors opened in the industry. And not that it's relevant in this case, he seems to be a very nice person too. He also used to be a mod here. He also said that this new PlayStation 5 exclusive started at the beginning of the pandemic in 2020, and that he does not believe it is a sequel to Deracine, which I think was the PlayStation VR exclusive that we got from FromSoftware. But he says it's going to be something bigger. He also says that he has no information on if it is a sequel to Bloodborne. He claims that he doesn't believe it is. But what he is confirming explicitly is that FromSoftware is in fact working on a game for Sony, and they've been working on it since 2020, or at the beginning of 2020. This to me is the most relevant part of this, because of course we could sit here and we could say, yeah, they're probably working on a PS5 exclusive. They've had a good partnership. Why would they not want to? But the thing that really does it for me is the fact that this game may have been in development for what will be basically 4 years by the time we get to 2024. We're just, 2 months away from that, basically. And 4 years of game development for FromSoftware is a long time. It tells me that this game is actually very far along in development. A reveal is on track for 2024. And I don't want to say a release is set for 2024, but at the very least, we could be getting a new FromSoftware exclusive released on PS5 by 2025. This is very exciting, as I said, for I think many people. And he does say he's not sure if it's Bloodborne. Me personally, I'm leaning more towards it not being Bloodborne just because I feel like there's this kind of tradition with Sony and with FromSoftware where anytime they partner, it's to create a new IP. It started with Demon Souls, then Bloodborne. The third game I could see being a new IP, but I could also very much see Sony trying their hardest to convince FromSoftware to do a Bloodborne 2, because a Bloodborne 2 would absolutely blow everyone away. It would, I don't know that it would find the same success necessarily as something like Elden Ring or even Dark Souls, but it would be huge. I think that Bloodborne, it came at a time where I think people were very much embracing it, but you can just kind of tell over the, past, what has it been, like 9 years, not 8 or 9 years, something like that. You can tell people have really propped this game up to an even higher place and got it to a better place and have just so much affection for it. If that announcement ever comes, man, like Bloodborne 2, on a PS5 Pro, that's going to be absolutely massive, no doubt about that. But I think it's just nice to get, I don't want to say confirmation, but something like this, because again, there have been many rumors in the past that claim FromSoftware is working on a new PS5 game and they're working with Sony, and we got that investment from Sony. But now we have somebody who apparently does have a good reputation in the industry, a Brazilian games journalist, saying that they've been working on this game since early 2020. And I suspect that if there is truth to this, which I believe there is, we are going to hear more about this in the coming months and going into 2024. And it's going to be very exciting, because one thing I do want to mention here before I move on is FromSoftware, as I said, they've reached a new level where they are a household name. They are considered one of the best development teams in the entire world. A lot of people hold them in such high regard that they view FromSoftware as the best game development team in the world. And so the idea that Sony would be able to strike an exclusivity deal with them, I think that this has the potential to really be something special for PlayStation, for FromSoftware, where of course we're going to get Elden Ring 2 and we're going to get other projects that From wants to work on. But I just imagine that Sony cares very deeply about trying to essentially, let's call it what it is, get a mega hit game exclusively on their platform from one of the biggest game development teams in the world that they've established a partnership with. And this is, to me, something that we do need to, I think, pay attention to with Sony going forward. We talked recently about how Sony's Eric Limpel, he's an executive there at PlayStation. He made it clear that right now they're focusing on their partnerships. They're focusing on reaching out to development teams, to publishers, and striking as many partnerships as they can, rather than just going on a spending spree and trying to acquire a publisher or acquire a bunch of studios at one time. And I think that if we do end up getting a exclusive FromSoftware game for PS5, that is a clear sign of the strength of Sony's partnerships. I understand that it will never be the same as Sony owning FromSoftware or owning a publisher, right? Or even owning the Dark Souls or Elden Ring IP. It will never be the same, but it will just speak volumes about how there is something to be said for these partnerships, and specifically studios that Sony has worked with over the generations, where I do think there is something there. I don't think FromSoftware would just partner with anybody for the sake of it. Maybe they would. I don't know. They did partner with Activision for Sekiro, but I just think that there is a relationship there between Sony and FromSoftware, and I just think it's a great thing in general. So hopefully it does result in Bloodborne 2 or new IP. Either way, man, I'm very excited. It doesn't have to be exclusive for me to get excited about it, obviously, but if it is exclusive, it's going to be huge for the PlayStation community. It's going to be absolutely huge for the PS5 console, and I think people are going to be all over it. And we have Whiskey Gaming, a longtime channel member, showing up, kicking off today with 5 memberships gifted to the community. Guys, let's get some W's in the chat. for Whiskey Gaming. Thank you so much for that, Whiskey. I really do appreciate it. I know that you've been a long-time member, but you also come in from time to time and drop some membership gifts for the community. So really do appreciate that, man. I really appreciate that support.
Thank you.
That is for you, Whiskey Gaming, and I'm going to add that to the counter. Yesterday, my streaming software was glitching out a little bit for some reason, and my screen was really messed up. Couldn't see the member counter. I'm happy to report that it's actually corrected today, so no problems there. So yeah, there we go. Starting off with 5 memberships gifted, thanks to Whiskey Gaming. Good stuff, man. You're saying FromSoftware simply does not miss. They really don't. They really don't. Broccoli Rob says, MBG, did you hear that FromSoft will no longer be using Bandai Namco to publish their games going forward, I think starting next year? I feel like I came across that in passing, but that makes sense. I feel like I remember hearing that they're going to start to self-publish, or they're looking into self-publishing. Not a bad idea if you're from software, right? If you're from, you know the power you wield. Again, it's all about leverage, and believe me, FromSoftware has all the leverage right now. I don't think they own the Elden Ring IP. I could be wrong about that. I think Bandai Namco does own the Elden Ring IP. I think they own the Dark Souls IP. But it doesn't mean that they couldn't self-publish going forward when it comes to new games they want to make. But I'm not surprised. You know, I think that FromSoftware, if you look at their trajectory, they're only, assuming that they don't put out like a disaster of a game, which I assume they won't. I don't think anybody's assuming that. I think they're just going to continue to climb higher and higher. One of the most impressive things about FromSoftware, in my opinion, is their output. They remind me of Insomniac in a way, where it's like, but even more impressive, you know, they're winning like Game of the Year and stuff. Although Spider-Man 2 could be up for Game of the Year. The original Spider-Man was. But it's just impressive nonetheless that they remind me of Insomniac, where they just have this impeccable output, right? Where they're just game after game after game after game. They have some kind of way that they manage their studios and that they cycle the developers. It's awesome to see, man, especially in the AAA space. Of course, FromSoftware isn't perfect. No development studio is perfect, but they are really, I think they've perfected the Soulsborne ring, whatever you want to call it, formula to a degree in which you see so many developers trying to copy that and mimic it. And I think some developers get very close to, like what we saw with Lies of P. I think people were like, wow, this feels like FromSoftware made this game, but they still didn't. And, you know, it's taken this long for a development team to come out and get that close to making it feel. But even then, it's still, you know, isn't a FromSoftware game. And I think they've perfected it. They've refined it. And from this point forward, I think that they have a winning formula that they can always rely on with Elden Ring, with Dark Souls, with Bloodborne, just these Souls-like games. They can rely on always going back to that well if they need to. But in the meantime, they can now afford to get super creative, do very different things, experiment, right? And I think a lot of people are excited to see that from the studio going forward. And that's something I want to add as well before I read these 2 super chats. I would be very open to seeing FromSoftware develop a new IP, as much as I would love to see Bloodborne 2. And I hope eventually it does get a sequel. I'm absolutely open and would be extremely excited to see them develop a new IP, right? I think a lot of people would want to see that over Bloodborne. I don't want to say it's evenly split, but while there are many people who want to see Bloodborne 2, I think that there are just as many that would say, I'd love to see a new IP. Absolutely. I have a couple of super chats here, starting with Pony Up with a $10 chat. Thank you so much for that, Pony Up. You're saying Sony has nothing to worry about from Microsoft in Japan. Besides foreign trade law restrictions, over 1/3 of their GDP comes from their games. They won't sell any part of their most profitable industry. That's actually a very interesting call out and thing to bring up, Pony Up. It wasn't even something I was considering. And assuming what you're saying is true, I'm not going to look into it right now. I'm just going to take your word for it. You're saying that 1/3 of their GDP comes from their games. That's actually very significant. That's incredibly significant. And I never really considered that when we talk about the idea of Japanese developers or Japanese publishers like Capcom, Konami, Bandai Namco, so on and so forth. I never considered how, the Japanese government would actually want to maybe get involved to stop something like that happening because of this, because of how important it is for their, their economy in general. And yeah, it's a very interesting point to bring up, Pony Up. And, we have talked at length about the idea of Sony acquiring a publisher. And I think it is much more likely that if Sony were to acquire a publisher, they would go for a Japanese publisher. And I think that they would also, they wouldn't run into any problems because Sony is a Japanese company as well. It would make a lot of sense, I think, for a lot of people, including, the Japanese government. But we did see those reports that Microsoft was maybe eyeing Square Enix and stuff like that. And that to me just, I understand that Microsoft has essentially an infinite amount of money to spend, but I just don't think it's as simple as you're pointing out here. I never really did think it was as simple as Microsoft could just walk in and say, yeah, we want to buy you. How much do you want? People talk about companies outbidding one another. I don't know, man. I think in the case of Sony making a play, if they were to for a Japanese publisher, I don't think they would be able to get outbid by anybody other than another Japanese company, realistically. So definitely some interesting insight you're bringing to the table, Pony Up. And once again, thank you so much for the $10 super chat, my friend. We also have Mercenary Teo with a $5 chat. Thank you for that. Saying, MBG, watch out for Alan Wake 2. It's so glitchy and buggy, I couldn't even finish the game. I'm at the end, but it kept crashing, and I was pissed. Really? Honestly, that is news to me, Mercenary. I say this because I've put about 4 to 5 hours into it, and I've had no glitches so far. I will say the combat is a bit clunky, to a point where it can be a little bit frustrating. Like, they have a dodge mechanic in this game, and it's okay. But I did notice I did experience like one boss battle so far, and it was okay. It wasn't something that was so frustrating that I was like getting angry, like this sucks. But it definitely was a little bit clunky and a little bit tanky. And I think that because this is supposed to be a survival horror game, some people might think that's a good thing, but I don't know. It was kind of strange to me because it's like the last Remedy game I played was Control, and Control felt the exact opposite. I'm not saying that, I should be just, zooming around shooting enemies. That's not what this game is, but it's interesting that you mention bugs and glitches. I'll have to keep an eye on this because, I don't know if that's something other people have been talking about. But for the 5 hours I've played so far, I haven't experienced anything. I think the only thing I may have saw was like a lighting glitch at one point where I entered an area and I think it was supposed to be dark, but it was actually like the sun looked like it was setting, and I was like, I don't think that's supposed to look like that. But other than that, it's been okay. But you're saying you're closer to the end of the game, so I'll keep an eye on it, man. I am planning on beating the game, maybe getting the platinum if it's not too stressful or difficult, and I will let you know. You're saying it crashed on you like 3 times. That's pretty weird, man. I don't know. I'll definitely update you and let you know what it's like for my situation. And I want to give a shout out to Wes. Wes decides he wants to become a channel member today. It looks like he actually decided to re-up his membership. I can tell based on his badge there. So guys, let's get some W's in the chat for Wes. Thank you so much for the support, man. Welcome back to Greatness Awaits. I really do appreciate the support you guys show. I rely on you guys to be able to continue to do this, and I'm extremely grateful to be able to do this. And as I'm saying that, we have UK Gamer. UK Gamer comes back, and he actually re-ups his membership, and it's a higher tier, the Play Has No Limits tier. So let's get some W's in the chat for UK Gamer, also showing some incredible support for the channel and for the community as well. UK Gamer, thank you. This is for Wes and thank UK Gamer.
Appreciate it.
Good stuff. You guys just brought us up to 7 members on the day, which is very nice to see. So shout out to you guys for the continued support. I also have IP Gaming here, a member for 6 months, who says this may sound wild, but Jagex is working on a console version of RuneScape, but greater scope, the OG RuneScape. Do you think From could make a Souls-like RuneScape? Interesting. RuneScape is a game that I haven't heard about in many years. I think I did play it one time in my life, and this was like, I think, the original version, and I couldn't get into it, but at that time, I think it was very popular. Could FromSoftware make a Souls-like RuneScape? Well, I'll be honest with you. I think FromSoftware could make anything they want and be relatively successful at it. I do believe that. I think I'm not entirely sure. Like, I would have to look deeper into RuneScape, especially this, like, you know, you're saying they're making a console version with greater scope. I would have to look into this. This is like the first time I'm hearing about it. And I would have to look at what they're doing, what RuneScape really is all about, and then look at FromSoftware and try to think to myself whether or not that would be a possibility. I actually think the chat might be able to help me out here a little bit with answering your question, IP Gaming, because, again, I have not experienced RuneScape in many, 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 many years. So I don't know if there's anybody who's more familiar with it right now. Maybe you can answer that question. Help out IP Gaming here. But either way, man, thank you so much for being a member for 6 months and for the chat. And we have Pony up once again with a $5 super chat. And he says, I remember Hogue bringing up when talking with Colin, governments guard their industries like the U.S. government, preventing the Saudis from buying PGA. Yeah, that's something I heard about as well. And that's a good call out where that was a pretty clear-cut situation with the PGA. I believe it 100%, Pony Up, and I think it's going to be something that plays a more relevant role, I think, going forward. We just got reports about how industry consolidation is going to continue. 2024, we're going to see even more acquisitions, more publishers, more developers going up for sale, and one of the companies that was listed that will be involved with that heavily is Sony. Obviously, that's something we're going to want to pay close attention to. But I have no doubt in my mind that, you know, we're likely to see some things get rejected and some things, you know, basically get called off because of governments. We just saw how difficult it was for Microsoft to get ABK over the line. I don't think that's the last time we're going to see a situation like that. So I appreciate all the information you're bringing to the table, Pony Up, and the super chats. But with that being said, we are going to move on. I don't want to say the next topic, but the second part of this topic, where we talked about the thing that I think most people are excited about when it comes to FromSoftware, and that is their games. But now we have a rumor that talks about a Bloodborne movie being in the works. And this, to me, is something that I think Sony has to be very careful about what they choose to do here, because the fan base, I don't know how they're going to react to this, but this comes from Daniel RPK, who I believe has a pretty good track record, and they're claiming that a Bloodborne movie or a Bloodborne game movie adaptation is in the works. The studio is Sony Pictures. The production company is PlayStation. The producer is Lorenzo Di Bonaventura. I don't know who that is. And the writer is Darren Lemke. It says, logline, Sony project based on the PlayStation game of the same name. Bloodborne follows the player's character, a hunter, through the decrepit Gothic Victorian era-inspired city of Yharnam, whose inhabitants are afflicted with a bloodborne disease which transforms the residents called Yharnamites into horrific beasts attempting to find the source of the plague. The player's character unravels the city's mysteries while fighting beasts and cosmic beings. And somebody said, they responded to this from Daniel RPK saying, is this a TV show or is it a movie? And they responded by saying it's a movie. So what are your thoughts on this? What do you think about a Bloodborne movie? My thoughts on this are number one, wow, Sony's actually doing something with the Bloodborne IP. That's my first thought. Number two, it makes me think they're doing a sequel. I know I said earlier that I'm unsure about whether or not this exclusive game that FromSoftware is making is going to be Bloodborne 2, but this to me makes it much more likely. We know that this is what Sony is trying to do. They are trying to create synergy, right? The Last of Us HBO, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is probably going to come out when The Last of Us Season 2 comes out on HBO. We know they're trying to do this with Uncharted. They're trying to do this with Ghost of Tsushima. I have no doubt in my mind that when Herman Holst said the reason why we're making this minority investment into FromSoftware is not just for the games, but for movie and TV adaptations as well. Well, if Bloodborne 2 has been in development since 2020, then yeah, it kind of makes sense that Sony would say, let's get a Bloodborne movie. Let's get that thing going. But again, I don't want to jump to conclusions. I'm just simply pointing out that it would be very strange to me if Sony were to make a Bloodborne movie and have nothing going on with the games. Now, another situation that could occur is maybe Sony says we're making a Bloodborne movie and we're going to finally release a PS5 remake and a PC version as well. That could work out very well. Maybe it doesn't have anything to do with FromSoftware. And maybe this game that FromSoftware is working on is just, again, completely separate from Bloodborne. But either way, to me, what this does signal, if this is to be believed, which I think it is, Sony is doing something with Bloodborne. And that, I think, is it gives Bloodborne fans, I think, a glimmer of hope that, they're willing to do something. How funny would it be, though, if the only thing they end up doing is making a movie? No remake, no sequel, no remaster, just a movie, no PC version, just a movie. That would actually be very strange. I wouldn't expect that. But yeah, I also want to say here before reading the super chat from PlayStation Pete is I'm not sure how I feel about it being a movie. I see a lot of people saying an animated series would be best. That would make a lot of sense. And I could see why that would be the preferred method to go about it. But I don't know. A Bloodborne movie could go one of two ways. It could be awesome, but it could also be a disaster. I mean, Sony's been doing pretty good so far. I will say that. I want to give Sony some credit here where they did that Twisted Metal TV show. I thought that was going to be a disaster. I watched it. It was 10 episodes. It was actually pretty good. Like, way better than it had any right being, and way better than I thought it would be. And it gave me a lot of hope that maybe they really do know what they're doing here when it comes to adapting. Because trust me, going into Twisted Metal, the TV show, I thought it was going to be a complete disaster. So if they want to do a Bloodborne movie, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I assume that they understand the importance of that. So they're called Sony Entertainment for a reason. That is true. PlayStation Pete, thank you so much for the $5 super chat, man, and the long-time membership. You're saying MBG, since you said Final Fantasy 16 is your game of the year, you have mentioned game of the. Hold on, let me read this again. MBG, since you said Final Fantasy 16 is your game of the year, you have motivated me to play Final Fantasy 16. Well, I'm really happy to hear that. I misread that the first time, but that's awesome to me, right? Like, I don't want to tell people like you have to play this game. I mean, play what you want, but it's always nice to hear when me talking about my experience with a game inspires somebody who maybe wasn't even considering playing it to go try it out. And believe me when I tell you, PlayStation Pete, I think you're going to be happy with it. Again, it's not a perfect game, but it's an amazing game. And I will say that the characterization, a lot of the writing is really good. A lot of the storytelling is very good. But truly the thing that stood out to me and just I think it's going to go down as just one of the best gaming memories ever for me are the boss battles. These boss battles are truly next level in a lot of ways, and the scale is just phenomenal. And so I hope you enjoy your time with it, PlayStation Pete. I did get the platinum as well. Maybe that will be your, 61st platinum, potentially? as I think you said you just hit 60 platinums. So I hope you enjoy it, man. And thank you for letting me know. We have Pony Up with a $2 super chat saying, want BP Castlevania remake based on the Netflix series. Interesting. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people asking for something like that, and it's hard to say if we're going to get something. I mean, there was that rumor with Konami for a while that they're working on a new Castlevania game. This rumor came out around the time when we were hearing about the rumors of Silent Hill 2 remake and Metal Gear Solid 3 remake. They also came out. Hello, Leia. I swear she sneaks up on me. They came out and they said that, there's going to be a new Castlevania game as well. So there might be some hope for you there, Pony Up. I don't want to give you too much hope, but PlayStation Pete, you're saying 62nd. Paw Patrol World was my 61st. Paw Patrol, that is very unexpected, PlayStation Pete. Paw Patrol World was your 62nd platinum? Good stuff, man. I mean, just out of curiosity, PlayStation Pete, because I don't want to assume, did you play that game just for the platinum, or, are you into Paw Patrol? I'm assuming it was your 61st. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, you got to let me know. I don't want to make any assumptions, but I am leaning more towards, I see somebody saying Boss looks, man. Boss is sleepy. He's a little irritable. Yeah, you'll have to let me know, bud. Ice Rezo with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much for that, man. PlayStation Pete, you're saying you just played it for the platinum? Okay. All right. Well, okay, that makes more sense then. No offense to anybody out there who enjoys Paw Patrol. I'm not here to judge, but good stuff, man. 61 platinums, not bad at all. Ice Rezo with a $10 super chat. He says, people must be realistic. It's near impossible for Sony to compete with Microsoft. There is a reason laws are being made specifically for big tech companies. The money these companies make are obscene. I am in agreement with the notion that Sony is not able to compete with Microsoft in the traditional who has the most money to spend type of way. It's not a possibility. Microsoft could outspend Sony 10 times over and still have an infinite amount of money left. It's just Sony is just not as rich of a company, nowhere near as rich. I mean, they're a very rich company. They're a multi-billion-dollar corporation, but when we talk about Microsoft, we're talking about a multi-trillion-dollar corporation in terms of their value, and they are operating on just two different levels. However, the one thing I will say is I refuse to believe and I refuse to accept that the winner in the video game industry is the one who can spend the most amount of money. Even if that is how it goes, I will quit gaming and I will be done because that's unacceptable to me. That is a complete disservice and disrespect to what this industry is and what it's capable of, what it has been doing for decades now. The notion that it's whoever can spend the most money wins. I want no part in that, truthfully. And I'm not saying that's what Microsoft is doing. I'm just saying that they are ushering in a new era where there is going to be a lot more money being spent, not just by Microsoft, but by other conglomerates as well and other major tech companies. It's going to happen, but I will always believe that, the smaller companies such as Nintendo, such as Sony, the companies that have made this industry, frankly, what it is in many ways, will not only survive and persist, but thrive as well, because they'll always have that touch that any corporation that's just soullessly spending money to try to win will never have. They'll always lack that special something that people gravitate towards, that people yearn for, frankly. And especially when you hear about AI. I mean, I just saw the news, and maybe we'll talk about this more extensively. It depends. I'll have to look into it. But we just saw the news, little side quest here. This comes from Discussing Film. Xbox has struck a partnership with InWorld to bring AI-powered characters, stories, and quests into games. This includes a system that Xbox developers can use to create detailed scripts, dialogue trees, quest lines, and more through AI. So, yeah, they're already beginning. And to me, this just reinforces how soulless of a company Microsoft is, where they're now, as soon as they make one of the largest acquisition in gaming history, they then announce a partnership with an AI company to essentially, I'm not going to use the word replace, but the beginning of the future replacement, right? This is the beginning of it, where, hey, our writers, talented writers, we might not really need you anymore. And I'm just, look, right now it's just Microsoft. Sony may be pursuing something like this. They probably are pursuing something like this, which will be unfortunate. But at the end of the day, man, what I'm trying to say is these corporations are soulless, and it is up to us, period. It is up to the consumer. It is up to the audience. It is up to the market to ensure that they can't have it exactly their way. They have to have some kind of respect. We need to demand that they have some kind of respect for this industry, for the art form itself. Period. End of discussion. That is up to us. I do not expect a corporate executive who has nothing to do with, who doesn't care about video games. They don't play video games. They have a job. Their job is to make their business and their corporation as profitable as possible and grow as rapidly as possible. I do not expect them to respect an art form, but that's where we have to do our part. And obviously the creatives will, developers. I'm sure the writers at Microsoft are looking at this, at these studios, and thinking, uh-oh, should we be concerned? The answer is yes, you absolutely should be concerned. It's up to all of us. This is why I've always tried to tell people, and I will always continue to tell people, there's only one language that these corporations speak. That is the language of money, and they will only speak to the market. They will only listen to the market. And you have to be very careful where you're spending your money, what products you're spending your money on. Sometimes it comes down to, I don't want to go into this too deeply, but this is where I've expressed my concern with the subscription service future, where it all depends on the message we are sending to the companies, to the corporations. When we send the message that we just want a cheaper deal, we just want to spend less money. That's all we care about, less and less and less. We just want to save, right? These companies are going to listen to us and say, okay, well, let's find a way to make that happen. And then they find that way, but I've always told it. I've always told people, and guys, there is this incredible video I think I might want to watch with you guys if we have time. I don't know that I'll be able to do it on the stream. This incredible video I just came across today, where this YouTuber talked about this, and his video's taking off. He talked about this very thing, not necessarily in the gaming industry, but all around, like mainly with these tech companies, and how we are just letting them do whatever they want. And that's the message we continually send to them, not just to Sony, but to Microsoft and Google and everybody else. We just continually tell them, like, yes, we're okay with this. And then when it all kind of collapses, right? When it all kind of comes to a head and it turns out that there was a price to be paid this entire time, everybody acts so shocked and like, oh man, who could have seen that coming? How did this happen? When in reality, it's completely obvious what happened. So this is why, look, I'm all about progression, right? In moving forward, seeing things advance. But at the same time, I think there has to be a balance. Truthfully, there has to be a balance, because I don't know, man. The gaming industry is in such a strange state right now. It's in such a strange state, and anything can happen. And I do believe this is a very important time for the gaming community. I mean, the gaming community is very large, very diverse, obviously. Everybody has different feelings on different things, but I think more than anything, it's important that we make it clear what matters most to us. at the end of the day. And what matters most shouldn't be how much money you can save. It shouldn't, in my opinion, it shouldn't be, how quickly you can get games, how rapidly you can get them. It shouldn't be about having the biggest games either. It should, at the end of the day, always come back down to the simple idea of we just want quality games that are made by passionate developers and artists, essentially. That's it. That's what we want. That's what we want. And they don't, they don't have to be the biggest games. They can if they want to be, but they don't have to be. Like, not every game has to be a GTA 6. Not every game has to be a Witcher. Not every game has to be a small indie either. Everything in the middle can exist, but it really is up to us, man, to support it. And I understand that right now it's difficult for everybody, myself included. Inflation it's hurting everybody. It is. Everybody's feeling it, but I will never dissuade anybody from, if there's something you believe in and you want to support, be willing to spend a little bit of money on it. That's all. If you can't, you can't. That's out of your hands. But if you are able to, I encourage that, because that's what's going to be needed. Truthfully, that's what's going to be needed. Anyway, sorry about that little side tangent there, but kind of got me going there. Higher quality results in higher costs. I agree. And I will say that that's why I think we have to find a balance, right? Like, I think this is a good moment for me to point out the fact that Jim Ryan, as PlayStation CEO, I remember him saying multiple times that for him, what he believes the PlayStation community wants is bigger and better AAA games. And I don't think he was wrong. And that sounds great. But as time has went on, we began to realize, and Jim Ryan also talked about this. Sony has talked about this. Many other game publishers have talked about this. Turns out that in order to keep making them bigger and better, really up the quality as high as we can get it, it's becoming very, very, very expensive. And because of that, very, very risky. I'm only going to speak for myself, but I do think a lot of people would agree with me, where it's like, as much as I want to see bigger and better, it's okay if there's a cutoff. It's totally okay if, maybe we don't up the budget, and maybe we don't polish this game to the absolute max mirror sheen. Not in terms of let's have glitches and bugs, not like that, but I just mean okay, a few compromises would be fine. I believe that. I do believe if that is what is needed for sustainability, I can accept that, because at the end of the day, when I say polish, maybe that's the wrong word. I guess I'm saying graphical fidelity, right? Or every asset has to be handcrafted 8K. You know what I mean? It's that one asset that I'm just going to walk by and not even notice. It's if you need to save a little bit of time, right, and save a little bit of money, and maybe that asset isn't going to be 8K, and it's not going to be the most detailed rock I've ever seen in my life, or cliffside, that's okay. You know what I mean? I can live with that. Because what the reality is, the only thing I'm going to be asking at the end of the day is your game fun to play? I love eye candy in games, right? I love the level of detail. I love seeing the graphics improve, and you're playing games like Red Dead Redemption 2, The Last of Us Part 2, and they just have these there's just these programmers and these artists, the level of detail is absurd, frankly. But I'll be honest and say that I think almost half the stuff you guys are not half, but at least a quarter of the stuff you guys are programming and adding this detail, it's great and it's impressive. But if this is what's making this unsustainable, it's okay if that doesn't exist. It's okay. I'd rather see it scale back just a little bit than see it scale up so high that it's becoming volatile. So that's my opinion on it. I love AAA games, obviously, and I want to see Sony and others continue to develop them. But, I think at the end of the day in the video game industry, it has been proven time and time again, and it will continue to be proven that gameplay is king. There is no way around that. There is no way around that fact. A game can be criticized all day, every day for what it may be lacking in terms of the graphical fidelity, the art style, and many other things like the level of detail. But if it's a fun game to play and it has great systems, great mechanics, great characters, great lore, great world building, all this different stuff, all of that is instantly forgiven. And it almost becomes like people don't care. So I think there just has to be a balance. I think right now things are becoming a little bit off balance, and it's okay. In my opinion, if developers and publishers decide we have to kind of slow our roll just a little bit to rebalance, that's fine. That's probably even necessary. Anyway, you're saying you wouldn't watch a movie with bad audio? I mean, I don't know that I agree with that statement. I think that I wouldn't want to watch a movie with bad audio, right? But if the movie looks so good, then I'm like, wow, this movie looks incredible. But it's like the only caveat is, but the audio isn't great. I'd probably still watch it. Like, you know what I mean? Like if what was on display was so good, you see what I'm saying? But I think it is a little bit different. I don't know that that's necessarily an apples to apples comparison there. It's a little bit different, but I do understand what you're saying. We still need to care about quality, but we also have to be willing to pay for that quality. But this is where it's like, listen, the reality is, and a lot of people don't want to hear this, but it is just the reality. I didn't make it this way. None of us. It's just how it went. If we are to expect things to keep improving, right, and to keep going up on the ladder of progression in AAA game development, we need to be ready for the prices to increase again. And that is the only question you have to ask yourself. Are you willing to pay $80 for a AAA game? Are you willing to pay $90 for it? Because that is the direction we are headed in. What? Oh, okay. Sorry, my chat just glitched out really badly there. And, if you're saying MBG, you are all over graphics, don't lie. Like I said, I definitely am impressed, and I'm like, whoa, I'm drawn in by graphical fidelity. But as the PlayStation 5 generation has progressed, and I realized that, I've had to make some compromises here and there, I start to ask, maybe they're not as important, right? Or maybe I just don't care about them as much as I thought I would. And it's fine. I still expect good graphics. Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with expecting that. But I just, I would rather a game have great... I'm more attracted to a game that has phenomenal gameplay than a game that has... And good graphics than a game that has phenomenal graphics but only good / decent gameplay. Truthfully, at the end of the day. That's why I'm a little concerned about playing Alan Wake 2, because the gameplay, this game is very much slow paced and narrative driven, but the gameplay has yet to win me over. It's very simple, it's very basic. It definitely is in line with what you would expect with survival horror, but I do realize it's very basic and there's not much to it. And it's so far, I'll be brutally honest, so far the gameplay in Alan Wake 2, again, I'm only 4 or 5 hours in, has been kind of boring. I'm just being honest here. It's been a little bit boring, but I'm okay with that because it's okay, I like this. I can get into the slower pace. I can get into the I've been enjoying the environments a lot. That's fine. But I am expecting things to ramp up more. at gameplay wise as I go further into it. And if they don't, you know, I might start to have some concerns there. But you know, it's again, I'm only 5 hours in. I got to see it through before I can judge it fully. Whiskey Gaming says Godfall is an example of this. Artistically, it was a great looking game, but the gameplay was not fun. Yeah. Unfortunately, too, that was the first ever PS5 game announced. Man, what a dud. Cypherpunk, sorry. Thank you so much for the super chat, bud. You're saying, to be fair, Sony has spent to win too with all the exclusive deals they've made over the years. I understand that. And I know that what I said, it may have sounded like I'm not including Sony in that. I am including Sony in that. I am. I understand why Sony makes the deals they do, and I'm not necessarily cheering those deals on, right? In the sense that, like, Sony, I want you to go make more deals. I would be totally fine if they didn't. I also can't lie, though, as somebody who only plays on PS5, that it does make me feel a little bit like, oh, well, that's kind of special. You know, that's a nice gesture that Sony's making there. Oh, Silent Hill 2, you secured that as a PS5 timed exclusive. Oh, I feel kind of special for that. Thanks, Sony. It's, you know, but it's like, but the reality of it is, if Sony didn't secure Silent Hill 2 remake as a timed exclusive, you know, it's like, okay, I'm still very excited for it. That's still going to be a day one buy for me, and I'm still going to play it on my PS5. So I guess what I'm saying is the bonus that is present with Sony offering timed exclusives or securing a third party exclusive, it's very minimal to me. Like, again, from a business, I think Sony gets more out of it than we do. There's no denying that. Sony gets way more out of it than we do. That's why they're paying for it, because they know this could be a difference maker in somebody choosing to buy a PlayStation over a Switch or an Xbox. So Sony definitely gets more out of that, to whereas if we're already on PlayStation, we would have had access to it either way. So it's a minimal bonus, but it is. I do view the partnerships, like what we're talking about here with FromSoftware, for example. To me, that's different. Where Sony pursues a development team, they negotiate a deal and they say, would you like to make a game for us, and we will fund it. That, to me, that's a second party deal. That's not a third party deal, right? That the second party deals are way more meaningful to me, because the second party deals are what potentially pave the way for what we would consider more organic acquisitions. So you're not wrong, Cypherpunk. I'm not saying that Sony is innocent here. They're not. But we do also have to acknowledge that while we can point the finger and say, well, Sony does it too, we also have to be able to point the finger at Microsoft and say, but they're the only ones doing it on this level. And when people do that, when people point the finger at Microsoft and say they're guilty because they're the only ones doing this, then it's all about the whataboutism, right? Well, what if Sony had the money to do it? Would they? Right? It's all about deflecting and asking different questions that are not indicative of the actual reality. And the actual reality is very simple. The actual reality is Microsoft is doing stuff on a level at which we've never seen in the gaming industry. They're currently the only ones doing it, and Sony is not. So while we could condemn Sony, it's almost like having to judge two different criminals for two vastly different crimes. I know that's an extreme way of looking at it, but that's the best analogy I can come up with off the top of my head. And I'm not going to go any further than that, because then I'm going to start, going off into a different direction. But that's basically what it is. Sony is not innocent. Microsoft isn't innocent, but the severity of their crimes, if you will, they're not comparable. They're just not. Again, I review it. I know it's such they're committing crimes out here. They're ruining this industry by maybe that wasn't the best analogy. You're saying we could just condemn no one, LOL. I agree with that. I mean, that is a possibility. Maybe condemn isn't the See, Whiskey Gaming's got it. The difference between murder and assault. Yeah. That's exactly what I was going for, man. It's a very extreme analogy, maybe even a totally unnecessary one, but I'm just trying to simply say that they're two corporations operating at two different levels, and the impact at which Microsoft is operating, or the level at which Microsoft is operating, the impact of that is going to be felt way more in the long term in this industry than what Sony's doing. That is just the reality. That's precisely what I'm trying to say. And I'm not saying that makes Microsoft more guilty. It could. We'll have to see. That's a long-term thing. We're going to have to wait and see. But truth be told, when it comes to Sony and their pursuit of exclusivity, frankly, I prefer in-house studio development and games. That is the single most important thing for me with PlayStation. But I also do heavily value second-party relationships, because again, those second party relationships frequently turn into acquisitions down the line that brings those studios in. And I'm sure mostly everybody here understands the difference between first, second, and third party, but just to make it more clear, let's take Helldivers 2, for example, made by Arrowhead Studios. This is a second party deal. Arrowhead is not owned by Sony, but their game that they're making is being funded by Sony and essentially treated like a first-party game would be. But once that game is out and that deal is up, that studio remains independent. Sony does not have ownership over them. But if that game performs really, really well and sells well, makes them a lot of money, or gets really great reviews, Sony could approach them and say, hey, we have a great working relationship. What do you want to... Do you want to negotiate possible acquisition? And I'm sure Arrowhead would love that. They'd probably say, yes, please. Let's negotiate some terms here. Strike a deal. And then Sony could potentially buy them and own them and then grow them over time. And they could become a very, very valuable asset to PlayStation Studios and the PlayStation Studios family. Ember Lab, another great example with Kenny Bridges Spirits. Whiskey Gaming with a milestone chat. I want to give him a shout out. Member for 33 months. Whiskey Gaming has been here for quite some time as a member. So big shout out to you for that, man. You're saying here, good to be back with the live streams. Been in New York for work for the past 2 weeks. Been pushing that remote play to the limits on my tablet. Damn, dude. I'm happy to hear you were still able to get some gaming in there. Through remote. How did that work, Whiskey Gaming? Saying you were in New York. I don't know how far away you were from home. It sounds like you were a pretty good distance. Did it work well for you? Let us know your experience. I'm curious. But it sounds to me like you sound like 1,500 miles. Oh, okay. Well, yes, you were quite a distance away, man. Quite a distance. Yeah. Let us know how that remote play experience was at that distance, because it sounds to me like the PlayStation Portal. See, this is why I'm saying there's absolutely an audience for the PlayStation Portal. Sounds like that would have been perfect for you. And I'm glad you could be back to the live streams as well, man. Good stuff. Yeah, we have an awesome community here. We really do. So anyway, I got way off track there. Again, that's kind of the beauty of the super chats. Sometimes they take me into some very different directions. And that's exactly what happened here. But we are going to move on to the next mainline topic here. And before we do, I want to once again ask you guys, if you're enjoying the stream, if you're enjoying the topics, take a second of your time, hit that like button. We are very close to hitting 200 likes. Helps the channel out a lot. I have an article here from pushsquare.com. And they say Sony's India Hero project will reveal new PS5 games next year. The first batch of PS5 games to be developed with help from Sony's new India Hero project will be announced between February and April next year. It's been confirmed. Speaking during the India Game Developers Conference, Sony's head of third-party division, Hector Fernandez, and program manager for the initiative, Sujith Sukumaran. I probably destroyed that individual's name. They said the team has been playing demos and accepting proposals and will be ready to confirm the first set of titles from Indian developers in the first half of 2024. This comes off the back of Sony's successful China Hero project, which gave rise to PS5, PS4 titles like Fist Forged in Shadow Torch, Anno Mutatum. I've never heard of this game, and the upcoming Lost Soul Aside. As well as providing financial support, Sony equips Indian studios with mentoring, training, and marketing advice to capture a worldwide audience. Sukumaran explained, with this project, we want to showcase the talent of Indian developers to the world. We want to appeal to people in India to fully support their development and showcase their games to the world. We also want to offer developers the skills and know-how that Sony has cultivated around the world and the experience of developing commercially successful games for consoles. He then goes on to share how both the India and China Hero project are now collaborating and sharing ideas, with a technical team on Sony's side aiding them. Fernandez added, it's all about the program, from how to commercialize and raise funds to how to support and train game developers. What we understand and learn is something we carried over from the China Hero project. Of the pitches received so far, the adventure genre has been the most popular, followed by first and third person shooters. So this is a relatively significant thing that Sony is doing here. We've known about the China Hero project, Sony's China Hero project, for quite some time, and we're starting to see these games get to the finish line. A lot of people are very excited for games like Lost Soul Aside, and that was made possible by Sony just deciding, like, we want to kickstart this and get these developers in these regions and empower them essentially and give them the opportunity. And it's really cool that they're choosing to do this for India now, because it tells me that this is Sony something wants to try to continue to do all around the world. And it's so smart. It's such a smart thing for them to do, because, you know, these are territories in which Sony, I don't want to say they're not heavily involved in, but this is their way of getting more heavily involved with it and trying to honestly court talent. That is what this is about. Sony is trying to go global in courting different talent and realizing that, look, there are developers all over the world in all of these different countries. And if we go to them, if we go to these countries, we go to these developers and we help them and basically become second-party partners with them. That's essentially what this is. Again, second-party relationships. Sony is really getting very serious about cultivating this stuff themselves and trying to be the catalyst for this. First, it started with China. Now it's happening in India. And look, you know, worldwide, geopolitics aside, I just think it's a cool thing. You know, it's a cool thing to see Sony kind of going around and trying to find these talented developers that exist in all these different regions around the world. And I think in the end, what that will result in is basically just us getting potentially more great games, right? That game Fist, what's it called? Fist Forged in Shadow? Yeah, Forged in Shadow Torch. People love that game, dude. And that was a game that came straight out of the China Hero project. I mean, there's a good chance it wouldn't have existed without it. So, yeah, I wanted to let you guys know about this, because this is this to me is something we might want to pay attention to. Like they said, between February and April is when we're going to get these new projects announced. You're saying Sony should do a Japan Hero project. They should. Yeah. I mean, it seems to me like maybe Sony doesn't feel the need to do that in their home territory, because, I mean, they're already well known there. They're already working with many of the Japanese publishers and developers. But yeah, they should do it in as many areas as they're able to, because there's no doubt in my mind that there are many developers out there in development teams with just immense amount of potential, but they just don't have the opportunity there. Maybe due to, you know, where they come from. The opportunity just simply isn't there for them to stand out and deliver something awesome to the world that they might be working on. And so that's what makes me very excited about this, and it's cool to see Sony doing it. Have a $10 super chat from Ice Rezo again. Thank you, buddy. You're saying Microsoft told their strategy was to spend Sony out of business. You do that by driving up labor costs. That's why they are getting the unions involved. Make it expensive to keep and pay developers. Certainly, it's definitely a loaded statement there, Ice Rezo, and there could certainly be truth to it, man. The one thing that you are saying that is that to me stands out the most, and it's just something it's not something I want to continually bring up because I don't know that it matters because they're in the process of trying to do it. Like they've been given the green light, you can do this. Yes, their strategy is to spend Sony out of business. And I said recently, with all of the news we're hearing from PlayStation about the layoffs, they're restructuring, they're reorganizing, they're reevaluating, they're tightening up the belt. I told you guys that Sony is now getting into a defensive position, and it's not that they're going to stay in that defensive position, but they really do have to get in that defensive position because this is the biggest difference between Sony and Microsoft in terms of the competitive space right now in gaming, is that Sony, any mistake Sony makes, they will feel the impact of that way more than any of the mistakes that Microsoft makes. And the reason for that, as we mentioned earlier, comes down to who has the most money. See, the thing about having the most amount of money, and when we talk about having the most amount of money, Ice, you said that the amount of money that like a company like Microsoft makes is obscene. It is. It's not fathomable, is what it is. It's like not real, essentially. I mean, like, do you know? Like, can you even begin to visualize what $1 trillion looks like? I can't. I have no idea. It's basic for all intents and purposes. It's an infinite amount of money. It's unlimited money. That's what Microsoft has, and what that equates to is a safety net, a strong, reinforced safety net that nothing will fall through. And that is Microsoft's position. Xbox can mess up year after year after year. They can lose money year after year after year. I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying they could. I mean, they could put out bad game after bad game after bad game. They could just burn this money, man. But if they're doing it, like, you might ask yourself, well, why would they be okay with that? The only reason they would be okay with that is if they saw that that's what they had to accept in order for their competition to die out. They would. And that is, I don't know if Sony ever saw this coming. We've talked about this as well. I don't know that Sony ever expected Microsoft to do this. I have to imagine somewhere they were prepared for it, like maybe one day, but they just maybe looked at it as they'll deal with it when it happens, but it's happening now. And Xbox, prior to, I would say, 2017, prior to 2019 and 2020, Xbox operated on a specific budget, and they were not taken seriously by their parent company, Microsoft. They were just a side project. They were given a certain amount of money, and they were basically told, like, please try to make money. Please try not to just keep losing money. And unfortunately, Xbox did the opposite. They kept losing money. They weren't making any money, and they were struggling. And that's when Phil came up with Game Pass, and Microsoft, as a parent company, said, you know what? We're welcoming you in. You have our protection now. You don't have to worry about anything. We'll take care of you. Microsoft is now ensuring that Xbox will succeed no matter what. Not Phil. I think people need to understand that. This is not Phil's game to... it's his game to win, but it's not his game to play. This is Microsoft's game to play. And Microsoft is playing that game. That's obvious. And that's what Phil needs to win the game. And the board of Microsoft knows this, Phil knows this, and Sony knows this. And that to me is the single most damning thing that came out of the entire Activision Blizzard deal is when the email surfaced of Matt Booty saying our strategy is to spend, so we will spend Sony out of business. He just straight up said it. And it's like, yes, there it is. It's right there. There it is for everybody to see. And that's why I found it humorous that, and there still are, like, people are, they are acting like that is like, that's something that Sony shouldn't be worried about, or it's not a big deal, or it's fine. And it's like, it's actually quite the opposite. If there's the single greatest threat to Sony right now, to the PlayStation brand, is Microsoft's money. Not their games, not their studios, it's their money. And that's where I don't know, man. I wish that it didn't have to go down this way, but it is. I wish I could sit here and say this is exactly how Sony fights Microsoft off. But truth be told, I don't know exactly. I don't know how you fight Microsoft's money. The best thing I can think of is keep making great games and you'll keep them at bay. You'll keep your users and your gamers happy, and you'll keep the threat at bay, right? And I see here we have Omen86 making his grand return. Omen, man, thank you so much. Coming in with a super chat, as well as some membership gifts for the community. So Omen comes in and he drops 5 more gifts. He brings us up to 12 members on the day. Guys, let's get some W's in the chat for Omen86. His senses must have been tingling. He's like, I sense MBG is talking about Sony versus Microsoft. I got to get in on this. But yeah, thank you so much, man. I'll read your super chat here, which was a very kind thing for you to do. And you say, just came back from a long weekend in Barcelona. Had a great time. Brought my Vita. What a machine. Not much time, but wanted to drop some support. Long live PlayStation Portal this month. Well, that's great to hear, man. I'm glad you had a good time in Barcelona. And the Vita, interesting. That's the thing. You said it here. I was going to mention the Portal's coming out in like just a couple days, basically. I mean, it's coming out on the 15th. It's right around the corner. It's interesting, Omen, because I just saw that Whiskey Gaming, he was saying that he was using Remote Play on his tablet. You're taking your Vita. I'm telling you, Sony, come on, Sony, you got to make a proper dedicated handheld at some point. Look at these guys. These guys will be the first in line I would be the first in line too to buy a proper dedicated handheld. I don't know that it's feasible for Sony at this point in time, but one thing that you guys continue to prove to me is that there's still absolutely an audience for that. And so, Omen, again, I'm glad you had a good time, dude, and thank you for stopping by, and thank you for continuing to show your support to the channel, man. It means a lot. As I say, I know it's a little bit redundant, but it's important for everybody to understand that I do rely on you guys to be able to do this, and I'm thankful for that. So, Omen, let me add your gifts to the counter here. Bring us up again to 12. Good stuff. And thank you once again for that super chat. Yeah, a lot of people are excited for the PlayStation Portal, man. It's actually quite interesting to me because, I mean, there was a lot of talk about the PlayStation Portal when it was announced, and, a lot of conversations like, is this thing totally pointless? Should we care about this? Is Sony doing a dedicated handheld? And then, like, I thought it was going to fail, to be quite frank with you. I thought it was going to fail. And now it just seems like, dude, people are super hyped for it. I'm like, this is quite the turnaround. I'm actually happy to see this. It's nice. And Omen's not done yet. Omen86 is not done doling out some membership gifts here. He comes back around and he drops 5 more gifts. for the community. Omen, thank you so much, man. That's very, very kind of you. He just brought us up to 17 members on the day. And as you can see, I've set my goal to 25. We are now very close to achieving our goal of 25 members, which is, I mean, impressive. Always impressive. So, Omen, I got to give you a couple sound bites here. I will give you...
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank you from Kratos. And what soundbite should I give Omen? What soundbite? Maybe... I'll let Omen, you decide. You tell me what soundbite you want, man. I got a Metal Gear. I got Joel. I got Jin Sakai. I got Venom. I got Crazy Arnold. Let me see. $200 for the Portal. I mean, to me, that's a pretty decent price for what it's offering. Maybe some people see it as too expensive, but I don't know. It seems pretty fair for what it is. And Omen won't stop, guys. Look at this. Omen is coming in, and he just keeps doling out membership gifts today. Omen drops another 5. That's 15 memberships. Omen just stops by out of nowhere. Oh, yeah, the only one I didn't mention. Obviously, Omen needs a Jim Ryan soundbite.
Enough from me.
Clearly.
We're going to have the game.
Even though Jim's retiring, Omen, he's still a member of Ryanthology. I can respect it. Omen. Yes, the Sony what are they called? The Explorer, I think, the earbuds, they're $200 as well. But guys, Omen just dropped 5 more membership gifts. He brought us up to 22. 22. Very kind of him. W's in the chat for Omen. That's 15 memberships gifted. Very much appreciate that support, my friend. Gavin says he misses Jim already. We might, guys. I mean, look, I know a lot of people are very quick to say, oh, I'm glad Jim is going and whatever, but we have to be careful what we wish for because we have no idea who's going to replace him in the long run. And we could very much, I don't want to assume the worst. I want to assume it's going to be good, but we could find ourselves saying, man, I miss Jim. Bring Jim back. And guys, we have a full-blown member train going here thanks to Omen and Whiskey Gaming. Look at these guys. Look at these community members. They are dropping gifts. They are raining gifts on the community. Omen86 says, you know what? Let's drop another 10. Another 10 memberships, absolutely crushing the goal for the day, blowing right past 25. And then Whiskey Gaming comes in and says he's going to drop another 5 gifts as well. W's in the chat for these guys, for these community members. My chair won't stop squeaking. I don't know if you can hear that. Every movement I make, it's squeaking. I'm going to have to get some WD-40 on that or something. Seriously, let me know if that's coming through the mic because it's irritating me. If it's not coming through the mic, I don't care. But either way, you guys are amazing. Truly, I'm very thankful for this community. I'm very thankful for all you do for me, for all you do for the channel. It's awesome to see, man. It's an honor. I mean, I know that sounds cliche, but it is. It's an honor to be able to do these streams, talk gaming with you, talk about the gaming industry. Guys are making my dreams come true here. So, Omen, shout out to you, man. Whiskey Gaming and Jake Skew 27. Jake Skew 27 comes in. He keeps the membership train going. He drops a membership as well. Guys, that brings us up to 38. 38 members today. So, again, the goal was was only 25, and you guys blew right past it. And I see that Shadow Link. Guys, we need W's in the chat for these community members, man. They are coming out here and they are doling out gifts. Shadow Link follows it up with a membership as well. You guys are just keeping it going. And to keep that membership train going, we have another legend following the legend, following the legends. Hellbound 1981 drops 5 more membership gifts for the community, supporting the channel. Absolutely incredible stuff to see here. Hellbound, thank you, man. Again, Hellbound, I really appreciate the consistency. You're always out here following these membership trains, bro. And then Omen does it again. Omen gets us to 45. He drops one more gift. You almost got MBG some WD-40, Omen. Yeah, I can afford to get that WD-40 now. I did have a can of WD-40. I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if I should be worried about that. What does it mean when a can of WD-40 goes missing? I don't know. But thank you guys so much. Really, you guys are too kind. You really are. You're too kind to me. You're too kind to this community. And we have Austin since the 80s. Dude, I'm Austin since the 80s. I'm fairly certain this is your first time gifting a membership, man. That name seems new to me. He comes in and he keeps it going. He says we're going to drop another membership gift. 46 members, guys. That's where we're at. I'm going to actually fix that. We're at 46 members. You guys are amazing. I really can't thank you guys enough. And all the legends are coming out today. All of them. They all converged at one point at like the hour and a half mark of the stream. Corey the Legend Landiga comes in and drops 10 membership gifts. He drops another 10 bomb. He keeps it going in a big way. W's in the chat. Guys, we need more W's in the chat for these guys. This is incredible. And then Hellbound. Dude, Hellbound. Absolutely love to see it, man. Hellbound 1981 keeps it going. These guys do not want this membership train to stop today. He drops 5 more. That's 61 memberships. Guys, we were just at like 17, and now we are at 61. I have to hand it to this community. I have to hand it to you guys. You never know. Look at that. The entire chat is filled with W's, as it should be.
Holy shit.
That's how I feel right now. Saying I need to send them a shirt or something. Yeah, I meant I got to figure out what I'm going to do merch-wise, and maybe that would be a possibility. I know people have been saying I got to start doing like some kind of merch line of some kind. I'm just still so unsure of what I would do. I really seriously should look into it though. And yeah, I'm going to have to do something for you guys soon. Coffee mugs. Yeah, true. Maybe I'll bring back the rant juice. They absolutely do support me a lot. And it's again, it's very humbling, man. And Omen 86, dude, he drops 5 more. Listen to me. I got to tell you this right now. All right? Cuz I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to lose it. We are at 66 members. And the reason why that is significant to me, and I'm going to lose my mind, guys, I cannot stop seeing the number 66 everywhere. It is insane. Like, I'm not looking for it. It just keeps popping up. And I'm like looking into what this number means, and it means a bunch of different things, but it's insane, dude. The number 66, I see it everywhere. I've seen it in the past 24 hours, at least, I'm not exaggerating, 7 times. 7 times. Now I'm seeing it all over my chat. Which is, I don't know what that means. Dude, if you look into numerology, apparently it's like your guardian angel or something trying to communicate with you and give you an idea of what you're supposed to do. And I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get a little, is this like a good thing? Apparently it is a good thing. But as I'm talking about the number 66, that must be my lucky number or something. As I'm talking about it, Corey Landiga drops 10 more gifts. Guys, you're going absolutely nuts. You're going absolutely nuts. We have to give it up to this community, man, to these gifters, because, look, I know some people get a little bit upset because, like, oh, there's too much time spent on membership gifting, but these guys got us to 76 members. That is massive. I mean, that truly is massive. And that right there, these guys are the sponsors. Everybody who gifted a membership today and everybody who dropped the super chat, you guys are the sponsors. I just talked about gaming in a very passionate way for the first hour and 20 minutes of this stream, and that is literally because you guys allow that to happen. It means everything. So thank you guys so much. Omen says soon 66 million PS5 sold. Dude, if Sony, I don't think Sony would announce a number like that. I don't think they would announce a number like that where they're like 66, we've sold 66 million. But if they did, I would lose my mind because I'd be like, there's just no way. There's just no way. Let me see. We are at, I almost put 66 as the amount of memberships. We're beyond 66 now, which is awesome to see. We're at 76, guys. We're at 76. So the goal was 25. And now we're at 76. Look at that. Look at how far beyond the goal we are. I think, did that update yet? There we go. Look at that. 76. You crushed it. You guys absolutely crushed it. Saying a 1% chance for that to happen, MBG. I agree with that. I think that the next milestone is probably going to be 50 and then 60. I think every 10 million at this point, Sony will announce how many PS5s they sold. Dude, I want to see how far beyond 100 million the PS5 goes. Because I have no doubt the PS5 is going to hit 100 million. The question is how much further. Omen, I also want to acknowledge your happy poop emoji that you dropped. And you also said here, Omen86, gifts to compensate the Microsoft sadness. Well, thank you so much for that, man. I think it's compensation enough. Certainly. Certainly, Omen. And let me just make sure I didn't miss anything else. I think we're all caught up now, guys. 66 PS5 exclusives next year. Let's do it, man. 66 exclusives? Hell yeah. I'll take that. Dude, I swear, I always get so unnecessarily paranoid about some of the noises I hear, like outside when I'm streaming. I don't know why, if I'm just like in a hyper-vigilant mode. But like, I'll just hear, which probably somebody just like slamming their car door, and I'm like, what was that? like, what am I expecting? You know? Why am I so on edge? It's probably the coffee. It's probably excitement. You guys got me all excited. 66 push-ups. Truthfully, I don't know if I could do 66 push-ups in a row, man. That sounds pretty difficult. I can tell you right now, I'm not in that kind of shape. I'm not ashamed to admit I could not do 66 push-ups in a row. Maybe that's a goal, though. Melbus, are you saying you can? NVC, you can do it? I mean, truthfully, I think you have to be in pretty good shape to be able to get to 50 push-ups in general. I think you have to be in pretty good shape. But you know another thing too, I don't really do push-ups. That's the thing. I mainly lift weights, so I don't know. I feel like if you train doing push-ups a lot, I think you condition your body in a different type of way because it's a full body exercise. Maybe the point is here I should start doing some push-ups. 10 handstand push-ups. Oh, no thanks, man. Oof, that doesn't sound pleasant. I see Hector here, a member for 1 month. He says, have you platinumed Alan Wake 2? I have not. Apparently, it's not a difficult platinum from what I've heard. I'm taking my time with Alan Wake. I'm not really rushing it. There's the second area you get to in Alan Wake 2 is this small town. I just walked around that small town, man. I'll be honest, if there's one thing that I'm appreciating about this game is the graphics. Ironically enough, the graphics are not making the game for me, but they are something I am appreciating. And I just kind of liked the way they made this town and the some of the detail in it. I was like, I want to go walk around and just enjoy it for a little bit. And it's pretty cool. But I don't think I'm anywhere near platinuming it yet. I think there's like 60 something. I don't think it's 66. Don't tell me. No way. Don't tell me there's 66 trophies in Alan Wake 2. I have to check now. No, that cannot be possible. That cannot be possible. So, oh, what? There are 67 trophies. If it wasn't for that platinum, so you're telling me there's 66 achievements? Wait, no. There would be the same amount, right? 67 achievements. That's crazy. That was so close. I see it everywhere, man. Now that I told you guys, I'm only going to see it. I'm only going to see 60. People are just going to type 66 in the chat randomly. But no, I will let you, if I do Platinum Alan Wake 2, I will definitely let you know about that. That's insane. 67. One away, man. One off. Josh McGill, member for 10 months. I appreciate that support, buddy. You're saying, just got my PSVR 2 yesterday and have enjoyed the hell out of Horizon, GT7, and Beat Saber. Also, RE Village, so ready for that as well. I'm happy to hear that, man. I know the exact feeling you're experiencing right now, Josh. I had that exact same feeling. Those were the games I played. The only one I didn't play that you mentioned is Beat Saber. Played Horizon, played some GT7, and RE Village. Dude, have fun with RE Village, man, because that to me was like, whoa. And I'm still waiting for the release date for Resident Evil 4. They said winter, so I'm assuming it's going to have to be, I don't know, in the next 2 months or so, 2 or 3 months. So I'm ready for that. That's going to be the next time I really... Also, I did see that game, Arizona Sunshine 2, I think is what it's called. Also got a release date. I think that's actually coming out next month. I might give that a try. That actually looked pretty good. And I think it has co-op or something like that. So, good stuff, Josh. I'm glad to hear you're enjoying it. And yeah, I'm still waiting for that new Astrobot game to be announced for PSVR 2. Absolutely. Omen86 with another super chat. Again, thank you for all the support, man. You're very generous, very kind to the channel here. You're saying 66 will be the Metacritic score. I should have known. 66 will be the Metacritic score of the next Xbox first-party game. Sorry, couldn't help myself. To be fair, though, that's actually pretty funny. That is pretty funny. I would freak out if that happened. What is the next Xbox first-party game? Does anybody know? I don't know off the top of my head. Do they have anything do they have any release dates for 2024? I know games like Hellblade 2 and Avowed are scheduled for next year. Well, yeah, I guess. Well, yeah, Modern Warfare 3. I guess technically, yeah, that's the next one. But you know, I'm talking about beyond Call of Duty. That's actually kind of weird to me that they don't have a... You know what they'll probably do if I had to assume? I bet you they're going to announce a release date for like either Hellblade 2 or Avowed at the Game Awards. And it'll probably launch somewhere between January and April of next year. Because right now, Sony has 2 solid games, what I consider to be solid games, lined up with FF7 Rebirth and Helldivers 2. Sony's Hellblade 2. And then there's rumors of Silent Hill 2 remake for March, Rise of the Ronin. So I have to imagine Microsoft is also going to have something, maybe 1 or 2 games lined up. Final Fantasy 66. Man, you guys really are not going to let that go. I mean, I'll tell you guys if I continue to see it. I've been talking to my wife about seeing this number everywhere. It is another prime example. Last night, I'm playing Alan Wake 2. I press the PlayStation button, and it brings up a card, and it tells me the percentage that I've completed of the mission I'm playing. That percentage was 66. Another example, I was watching a YouTube video. I only watched 2 YouTube videos today. The second YouTube video I clicked had exactly 66,000 likes. It just keeps popping up everywhere. It is wild. I genuinely am beginning to think that something is trying to communicate. The universe is trying to speak to me. I'm just not exactly sure what it's trying to say. Maybe it's just trying to tell me to stop worrying, to calm down, enjoy my life. I like to think maybe it's trying to say something positive like that. It's not 666. No, it's not 3 6s. It's just 2. And that's why I was nervous at first. Yeah, it's trying to communicate to me GTA 6 is nigh. That's what it's trying to say. You're saying, Capono, you're saying MBG, Google says 66 can mean personal growth and inner peace. Incredible. I think I read that too. That's what I want to believe. That's awesome to me, if that's really what's trying to be communicated. Because I could definitely go for both. Personal growth, inner peace. Bring it on. Bring it on, man. GTA 6 is 6 months away. Oh, all right. Matt York, a member for 21 months, longtime member. Thank you, Matt, for your continued support, bud. You're saying here, everyone with a VR2 headset should really check out Paradise Hotel. It's $20 only, and it's scary as hell. Honestly, my top VR2 game so far. Interesting. Your top VR2 game. That's pretty impressive. I got to say, it must be pretty damn good for you to say that, because there are some good VR2 games out there. Paradise, I might try it, man. I might try. I still have yet to play something really scary in VR2. Did Madison release for VR2 yet? Let me look this up really quick before. I think it did. Did it? I see a physical copy of it, which I didn't realize that. And it says PlayStation VR 2 required. I think it did. Oh, it got delayed to next year. Interesting. So if I were to, that's a tough one. Ghetto God says, if I have a PO box, I'll send you a Route 66 sign for your setup. Damn, man. I don't know. Maybe. I'll have to think about that. Yeah, I see it has a listing here for Best Buy and GameStop. PS5 version, $40. Doesn't have a date though. Let me click. March 26th, 2024. Interesting. Cursed edition. It's really nice to see that. I mean, I know it's a game that can be played on your PS5 standalone, but it's nice to see like more VR2 games get some physical releases. We need to see more of that. But I'll have to think about this, Matt York. I will. It's just like right now I'm playing, like I said, I'm playing Alan Wake 2. I want to play Lies of P after that. I still have my VR headset, and I don't know, that's just pretty high praise. You're saying it's the best, it's your top VR2 game. That definitely makes me consider it, man. Okay. You're saying it's only like 4 hours long, but worth your money. To be honest, I actually like that. That's the thing is, I think VR2 games, I don't want to say the shorter the better, because obviously I don't want it to be like 30 minutes or something, but 4 hours, I mean, that sounds great to me, especially if it's a scary experience. I could see, I mean, I don't know if you played it in just like one sitting, but I could see myself playing it for like 30 minutes, getting the absolute shit scared out of me within that 30 minutes and being like, you know what? Maybe I'll come back to this in a couple days when I'm, when I'm feeling like I can handle it again. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. You're saying it feels longer because it's kind of terrifying. You broke it into 40 minutes. Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely think about it, man. Because you're not the first person to mention this game to me. Crooked Vulture says that the Jin Sakai poster is looking fire. I'm glad you like it, man. That's my favorite poster, definitely. I was not sure whether or not to put the Metal Gear, the Snake Eater poster here, or the console poster, but I felt like I had to put that. I like this console poster too much. I like that it shows every generation of PlayStation stacked. It's like one of my favorite posters ever. So I was like, I got to put it there. Maybe I'll get a smaller version of that Snake Eater poster and I can put it maybe where Kratos is. But Kratos fits nicely there. Anyway, Omen86 with another chat here says planned releases. but Microsoft never delivers on dates. Well, Microsoft, I think it was Phil Spencer. He said that Starfield marked the beginning of their planned release, like this dream that Microsoft has had where they release, I don't know if the word AAA is appropriate to use, but AA or AAA game every quarter from their studios. And he said that Starfield marked the beginning of that. That's why I'm going to be interested to see, like 4 games a year. That's what's kind of interesting is Microsoft says you can anticipate 4 games a year from them. Sony told their investors 2 from them. Like when we say from them, we're talking about their own studios. Sony said you can expect 2 from us. So essentially what we might see is Microsoft double the output of Sony. But my question here is, will their quality of all 4 of those releases match the quality of Sony's 2 releases if they can maintain 2 releases? Plus, on top of that, I mean, Sony may only be able to release 2 games from their first party a year, but what about all their their second and third party partners? I think that could be very significant and consequential as well. There's no doubt that regardless of what we end up getting from Sony's first party in 2024, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will be talked about. Just like this year, Sony didn't put out 2 first-party games, but you know what they did? They locked down Final Fantasy 16 for PS5 owners. And Final Fantasy 16 right now is my game of the year. So it's like, well, damn. Can't really complain, And Omen with another chat says, Phil talks a lot. Let the games do the talking.
Enough from me.
I know that's what you wanted, Omen. I know that's basically what you're asking for with that chat right there. You got it. That still is my favorite Jim Ryan quote because, again, regardless of what anybody thinks of him, I think he may have made some mistakes. He did let the games do the talking. Jim didn't talk enough, I think. It would have been nice to hear from him a little bit more, but now we have to wonder if we're ever going to hear from him again. Unfortunate, but true. Yep, Hiroki Totoki's next up. All right, well, definitely went... you're messing with me. Shem says Jim Ryan's age is 66. I know he's in his 60s. Don't tell me he's 66. No way. That'd be pretty funny. It's believable, though. It is believable, because he does look... he does look like he could be 66 years old. MBG, you should do a retrospective of every single PlayStation console that has been released up until the PS4. I've thought about doing something like that. The thing is, when I thought about doing something like that, I never really could decide on how I would want to approach it. Like, do I want to just give my own experience with it, or do I want to make it more like and I don't know that I ever would. I'm not saying I will, but I have thought about it. Like, I know something people love to do on YouTube is like make documentaries and stuff like that. It's difficult, man. It is. It requires a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of research. And, I think I'm more inclined to want to go with my own experiences and talk about that. But you're saying Mystic did it. Yeah, Mystic has done quite a few documentaries. And I think he's talked about how difficult they are. But man, that's like one of the reasons why I'm like, should I even bother? Like, Mystic did so many different documentaries. He covered so many of the biggest things. And it's like, respect on Mystic here, man. He's very good at it. Very professional. And it's like, I don't think I could match that, man. He's very skilled. Saying IGN's was pretty good too. I don't think I caught theirs. We'll see. There was this one video I made one time. I was thinking about re-uploading it, but now I don't know that it's appropriate. And I don't know how many of you guys remember this, but this was, I think, almost a year ago at this point. I made a video. I think it was about 20 minutes long. It was the highest production value video I ever made, where it was about Sony embracing live service games. And I think I titled it like PlayStation is about to change in a big way. And I basically created not like a documentary, but it was just a very highly produced video where I broke down in like 5 different sections, like all the changes Sony's making, why they're making it, what they're hoping to achieve, and how if they actually go through with this, the future of PlayStation is going to change quite dramatically. It was very, very well received, and I haven't done something like it since, but I have thought about it. It is just very difficult. It was very time consuming to make that, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. Anything is possible, right? All right. With that being said, though, I do want to move to the next main topic here. Okay, yeah. So we have 2 more main topics to go over the course of this stream. Really quick, though, Omen86 says, "Gotta go, people. Enjoy your games. In the end, that's what it's all about. Don't take everything too serious. I'm just having fun here. MBG's the man." Thank you so much, Omen. Again, really appreciate you not only stopping by, but being so generous to the community as well. So enjoy the rest of your day, man, and I appreciate you leaving us with such, I think, true words. It is all about the games at the end of the day, and we're just having fun here. So thank you, man, and I hope to see you in the next one. So let's see. The next topic we are going to be talking about is GTA 6. We have a leak for GTA 6. This is not a release date leak. This is not a reveal leak. I feel like we've been getting way too many of those, and almost all of them turn out, pretty much all of them, let's face it, every single one has turned out to be false. So when I saw this, I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to cover this either, until I realized this leak was actually extracted from the actual GTA 6 leak that happened. So this is being reported by WCCF Tech. They say Grand Theft Auto 6 is looking to be considerably more advanced than its predecessor, judging from the information that was discovered thanks to the build that leaked last year. Reddit user Tabolabin, if I'm saying that correctly, discovered an AI debug menu while studying the leaked build, which includes tons of testing options that reveal new information on some of the game's mechanics and features, alongside a procedural motion system which suggests the game will feature dynamic animations that will react to in-game conditions. The user discovered emotional loco requests, expressions, and gesture entries, which suggest how NPCs will be able to display emotions through their locomotion system, enhanced facial expressions, and more. The Grand Theft Auto 6 leaked build AI debug menu also revealed some additional information regarding advanced AI for NPCs. Animals, for example, will likely be more intelligent than ever, judging from the animal intelligent function in the menu, and interactions with wildlife will be deeper. Human NPC AI, on the other hand, looks to be extremely advanced thanks to an AI memory system which suggests that non-playable characters will remember the player's actions and decisions, influencing their interactions. One of the functions in the menu also suggests that NPCs will be able to smell the player or other NPCs, which would be something unusual, but nonetheless interesting. The Grand Theft Auto 6 leaked build AI debug menu also reveals a faction system, which may be the improved version of what was featured in San Andreas, and dynamic environments that could change over time due to player action or story progression, among other things. So, yes, this is why I wanted to cover this, because it's actually pretty significant information about what to expect in GTA 6. Oh, and Omen86 here drops one more chat, and he says, by the way, crush that like button. We can do better. Thank you so much for that, Omen. Yeah, guys, I got to send that message to you, courtesy of Omen. Crush that like button. Let's see if we can get to 250 likes. I'd very much appreciate that. And I see here that we had Todd's vacation videos. He comes out and he wants to keep the membership train going strong today. Todd drops a membership gift. Now, Todd, you just got us to 77 members. I know that it said we were already at 77 members, but that's because it counted a milestone, chat. So, Todd, big shout out to you, man.
Thank you.
Let's get some W's in the
Appreciate
chat
it.
for Todd continuing to keep this membership train going strong today. Good stuff, man. So what do you guys think about some of these systems that are going to be present in GTA 6? Again, I want to emphasize, this is not a patent. This is not a rumor. This is not coming from some kind of insider. This is actually stuff that was extracted from the debug menu of the actual real GTA 6 leak that occurred. And to me, this is, you see, I have been questioning for a long time with the amount of hype and excitement surrounding GTA 6. I've been questioning, what are they going to do to meet players' expectations? I mean, truly meet their expectations and potentially exceed them. It's going to have to go way beyond just graphical fidelity, right? I think this is indicative of that. And we have Chris B. Chris, but you guys will not stop today. You guys are just going nuts with the membership gifts today. Chris B, let's get some W's in the chat for Chris B, a longtime member who has been consistently gifting memberships as well. He just brought us up to 82. 82 memberships today, guys. I'm seriously impressed. That is an incredible number. The support, I mean, what do I even say at this point? The number speaks for itself. The community. We let the community do the talking here, right? We let the membership gifting do the talking. Thank you so much, Chris. Let me see. I'm going to give you
no matter what,
a Joel for that.
You keep finding something to fight for.
Good stuff, Chris. So yeah, 82 members, guys. Wow. Wasn't expecting that, but very much appreciated. Let's see. What do you guys think about the idea? This to me could be a game changer. Apparently in this debug menu, it mentions how there's a system in place that will make it so that NPCs will remember your actions and they will react to you like based on their memories. That's kind of crazy to me. I do wonder if some of the stuff they're, again, because this was a leaked build of GTA 6, an earlier build. I do wonder if some of the stuff will prove to be a little too ambitious. NPCs being able to smell your character and smell other NPCs. Like, I don't know, like what kind of interactions would that lead to? You're saying it sounds like most CRPGs, but that's the thing, man. Is like, this is not. The reason why to me this is significant is because this is going to be in quite possibly the most detailed open world video game we ever see. And so it's like they want to clearly push the limits of what they can do with the AI and the NPCs and even the animals. And I'm not saying like these systems in and of themselves are like brand new and like I've never heard of any of this, but it's just the idea that they're going to be able to cram all of this into, again, one of the most detailed open worlds we've ever seen. This could be, I think, kind of the secret sauce in a way, like that I don't know, man, just like that edge, I guess you could say, that's the word I'll use, the edge that GTA 6 will need to surpass people's expectations. This might be what does it. Saul Goodman, you're saying this is old news. Rockstar already said their AI in GTA 6 will set a new standard and be advanced. Well, I get that. I don't doubt Rockstar. That's the thing. But it's just interesting to me that this stuff, I feel like this stuff was kind of always there in the leak, but this is the first time that somebody actually tried to like look through it and extract all of it. And I will be honest, like out of most things I've heard about GTA 6, this kind of gets me the most excited, oddly enough. And we have Paul Ganell, another longtime channel member who joins the stream and says, I want to get in on this membership train. And he drops a membership gift himself. Paul just brought us up to 83 members. Guys, look at that. Again, the goal was 25. and we just got to 83. Paul,
Thank you.
thank you so much, man. Thank you for your longtime support as a member as well. And thank you for keeping the membership train going. Guys, you already know what to do in the chat. Good stuff, man. Before I finish talking about GTA 6, because you're saying the smell-o-vision is outdated tech too, nothing new? Smell-o-vision, that does sound familiar. Did that come from Rockstar? I feel like I've heard of it, but I'm not sure where that came from. Smell-o-vision. Let me actually check really quick. Smell-o-vision technology. Smell-o-vision was a system that released scents during the film projection so that the audience could smell what was happening on the screen. What? Oh, that's for movies. Technology gaming. So, oh my God, it's a Sony thing. I knew I heard this somewhere. Sony Smell-o-vision is a technology that allows gamers to smell the odors of video games. The company has filed a patent for this technology, which suggests development and integration into consoles is still in the early stages. That was reported on August 8th, 2023. So that is different, actually. That is different. What is being talked about for GTA 6 is in the game. I mean, maybe it has existed in other games where, again, NPC characters can apparently smell your character and I guess react to it or smell other characters. My assumption is this would lead to like some really funny random dialogue coming from NPCs or NPC interactions. I'm very excited for GTA 6. I mean, look, I know there's a lot of concern about Rockstar Games in terms of, GTA Online and is that all they care about anymore? But there's no denying their pedigree. I have no doubt in my mind that GTA 6 is going to be nothing less than incredible. But this definitely gets me excited because this is the stuff that I'm going to be looking for. I already know that GTA 6 is going to be a very impressive looking game. But I want to see Rockstar, especially because, I mean, let's face it, this game is going to have to be current gen only. There's no way this could release on PS4 and Xbox One. No chance at all at this point. I want to see them push it. I think Rockstar could be the first studio to really, just really kind of blow us away with the next gen game. It's not to say that Sony hasn't been doing a good job with the PS5. They have, but I could see Rockstar coming out and just like truly deliver a mind-blowing experience. Something that, again, like will probably make other developers be like, why am I even trying here? What if it releases on the PlayStation 6 instead? I don't think, no, there's no way that could happen. And that's actually something I wanted to mention to you guys before we move on to the final topic of the stream, which is there were so many rumors and reports that the GTA 6 reveal was going to happen in October, specifically on October 24th. And as we got closer to October 24th, there was all this buzz happening around it, and then just nothing happened. And apparently, I think it was YouTuber Legacy Killa HD. He said that he was in contact with somebody, or his sources told him that, they're going to end up revealing it sometime in 2024, and it may get pushed back to a 2025 release, like an early 2025. And they wanted to target a late 2024 release, but apparently, like, they're not under a lot of pressure, which is good, right? Like, they did change the culture inside of Rockstar Games, so they're not crunching as much. They're not, they're not trying to push for deadlines. Like, if they need more time, they'll just take it, and I think that's a good thing. I mean, we've waited long enough for GTA 6. I'm not in any rush, but I am eager. I am eager to see this game like everybody else, and so I don't know, man. If they're going to announce it in 2024, I wonder when it'll be. I have to imagine it'll be in the first half, right? So there you go. That's the latest I have for you on GTA 6. I'm now going to move to the final topic of the video, which is talking about the Nintendo Switch 2. This is again being reported by WCCF Tech. They say very little is currently known about the Nintendo Switch 2, but leaks revealed the name and some of the features of the processor that will power the console. The Tegra T239, a custom version of the T234 processor. Thanks to this, it is possible to get a rough idea of how games will actually run on this console. In a new video, Digital Foundry tried to replicate the processor's specs with a Dell Vostro 5630 laptop powered by a Core i7 1360p CPU, 16 gigs of 4800 megahertz LPDDR5, a 512 gigabyte SSD, and an RTX 2050, which features the same silicon as the Ampere-based RTX 350 and 350 Ti, but with a slightly higher CUDA core count over. There's a lot of technical terms here. That of the T239 2048 over 1536. I'm just saying numbers at this point. With a 64-bit interface, it's the GPU that offers a memory bandwidth closest to the one that the Nintendo Switch 2 will feature, although the 4 gigabytes of VRAM are likely less than the amount of RAM that the console will feature. While the Matrix Awakens demo, which was reported to run on the new Nintendo console complete with ray tracing, wouldn't run on this system, other titles did, such as Fortnite's UE5 with Lumen, Death Stranding, Control, Cyberpunk 2077, A Plague Tale Requiem. Thanks to DLSS, all games ran at above 30 FPS with ray tracing on where it was applicable at 1080p, and some of them even at 1440p at acceptable performance. As such, Digital Foundry indeed believes that the Nintendo Switch 2 can definitely bring performance comparable to that of previous generation consoles, also highlighting how NVIDIA's upscaling tech, however, will be a crucial component of the new system. So a lot of, again, technical mumbo jumbo there, but basically all of this is to say simply that Digital Foundry created the closest thing to what the Nintendo Switch 2's specs will be and then tested games on it. And what they found is essentially it will be a very competent and capable 1080p ray tracing machine. If it tries to go to 4K, it's going to struggle. It will be able to, I assume they said specifically above 30 FPS. I'm assuming that means many games will hit 60 FPS. So yeah, it sounds like it's essentially going to be a 1080p 60 FPS ray tracing machine. And this is very intriguing to me because I've been talking to you guys extensively about the implications of Nintendo releasing a newer version of the Switch that also gets third-party support. My question now is, what is the dynamic going to be between Sony and Nintendo where come 2024, Sony is getting ready to release a PlayStation 5 Pro. The PlayStation 5 Pro is rumored to have basically double the performance, double the power of the current PS5. So my assumption with that is if we look at a game like, let's say Spider-Man 2, right? Spider-Man 2, if you played in the performance mode, it runs at 1440p upscaled, 1440p, it upscales to 4K. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I'm pretty sure it's being upscaled to 4K, unless it's being actually upscaled to 1440p. Correct me if I'm wrong. 1440p upscaled to 4K, 60 FPS with ray tracing turned on. If the PS5 Pro is going to offer double the performance, then I assume it will be able to easily achieve 4K, like native, right? At 60 FPS, and maybe even increase the ray tracing a little bit. Or maybe the ray tracing stays the same. Does that sound about right to you guys? Does that sound reasonable? Or does that sound unrealistic for the PS5 Pro? The reason why I'm mentioning this is because, I mean, at that point, it seems like the Switch is going to be behind enough so that it still could create a barrier I mean, maybe with scalability, right? Maybe it won't be a problem, but I just wonder what people are going to care about more. Like, how important is 4K to people? I think that's the question at this point. That's that we have to ask. And they also mentioned DLSS. I mean, maybe I should have watched the Digital Foundry video myself rather than reading about it, but I do wonder if when they say, yeah, it's a 1080p 60 FPS ray tracing machine, I wonder if they also are meaning that DLSS will allow it to go beyond 1080p, right? Like, or will look like it's 4K. That's a question I have. But to me, it's just interesting as we get closer to the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2, or the reveal, I should say, not the launch. The reveal of the Nintendo Switch 2, I am very curious to see how people react to these very different directions that Sony and Nintendo are going in, but yet there might be something there, that being third-party games, that kind of tethers them together. MBG, when comparing PlayStation and Nintendo, it has to be based to be the base models, not pros. Yeah, you are right about that, Devil Shooter, because the PS5 Pro is not going to be anywhere near as appealing, widely appealing, as the Switch 2. The Switch 2 is going to be very widely appealing. So you're right about that. Oh, it's, I've been playing, like I said, Alan Wake 2. Believe it or not, I'm playing Alan Wake 2 in the quality mode. The reason why I'm okay with playing it in the quality mode is because the gameplay is very slow paced. It's from what I've played so far, you're not moving, like there's just not a whole lot of movement happening. Certainly not a lot of fast movement. The only encounter I've had in Alan Wake 2 so far where there was fast movement was fighting like a wolf or something. But everything else has been pretty slower paced. And so I felt comfortable kind of playing it at 30 FPS. And it looks really, really good. And I experimented with the 60 FPS mode a little bit. It still looks really good. You can tell like they had to downscale it quite a bit. It still looks good, but I guess in the end, it's just going to come down to when we see third-party games release on the Nintendo Switch 2 and the PS5. I mean, Digital Foundry's analysis videos are about to get way more interesting, right? Where for years, the Digital Foundry analysis videos have been comparing the PS4 to the Xbox One, the PS5 to the Xbox Series X and S. Now, I'm assuming in the next couple of years, for the remainder of this generation, Digital Foundry's analysis videos for many third-party games are going to be PS5 versus Nintendo Switch 2 versus Xbox Series X and S. And I'm very eager to see with a lot of these games, how does the Switch 2 version hold up against the PS5 version? I don't know, man. Interesting times ahead for sure. And so, yeah, I'm gonna be paying close attention to the Nintendo Switch 2. I don't know. I'm assuming I will get a Nintendo Switch 2 at some point. It's not necessarily something it's weird because like I'm more interested in following the Switch 2 to kind of figure out how this could potentially impact the competition between Nintendo and Sony, more so than I am wanting to play it myself. Although I likely still will pick one up at some point. You think the Switch will be compared to the Series S? Yeah, you're actually, now that you mention it, that could be a much more likely scenario. All right, let's see here. Captain Avery says, I feel like I missed out by not having a Switch on launch. That's interesting. I don't feel that way at all. I appreciate Nintendo as a gaming company. I do. But at the same time, as I've explained to you guys, like they don't draw me in, frankly. I don't know why. Maybe that will change with the Switch 2. Josh says, MBG, after I saw what Retro Studios did with Metroid Prime Remastered, I'm not worried about the specs for the new console. Nintendo gets the most out of their hardware. Yeah, that seems to be something they're very good at as well. I've noticed. I mean, I didn't even think of that. I'm so focused on third party, I didn't really consider what Nintendo will be able to do with their first party games on this console. Yeah, it could be very impressive. You're saying MBG digital clownery. That's wow. Never heard that one before. Digital clownery is going to try to compare PS5 Pro to the 490 watch. That would be, I don't know. Would that be, I don't follow PC gaming specs enough to know. I'm assuming that would be a bad thing to do. The 4090, I think that's like the high end GPU. That's the highest end GPU right now, right? Unrealistic. How much is a 4090? I'd have to look into that. Let me see how much a GTX 4090 is. GTX 4090. Oh, wow. I had no idea it was that expensive. Holy crap. I see one here at Best Buy, $1,200. I see one here that says it's like $1,900. I did not realize they were that expensive. I thought they were like $700-800. Dude, that's like that's like 2.5 PS5s right there, man. Holy crap. MBG, PlayStation has been on top thanks to first party exclusives. And the saying goes, never change a winning strategy. And you're saying the 4,900, 1,600 plus. I agree. That's the thing is like a lot of the conversation I've been having on this channel recently, it's been, a lot of negativity, a lot of concern, what some people would call fear mongering or doom and gloom. But I'm just trying to be open to all possibilities because to be honest, I am very hopeful about PlayStation. Like I always get a little bit fearful that my hopefulness for PlayStation and my excitement for it will be mistaken as like some kind of fanboyish arrogance, and it's not. And I know we joke around sometimes, but I'll be honest with you. I'm not really going into 2024 looking at Sony and Microsoft as like close competitors. I'm just not. It really depends on what Sony decides they want to do. That could change that. But I'm just assuming Sony's going to do what they do, man. Why would they not? Sony's going to do what they do. I understand that not everything they do is perfect, but simply put, I'm expecting 2024 to be another banger year for PlayStation, because why wouldn't it? Was 2023 a somewhat weaker year? Yeah, it wasn't the strongest. It wasn't the most ideal. But honestly, my expectations for 2024, maybe I am overconfident. Maybe I am setting myself up for disappointment, but I fully expect that Sony's going to come out. They're going to start. I mean, obviously they're starting off the year strong with some good games, some great games, at least with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Personally, I think Helldivers 2 is going to be pretty damn good. Maybe it won't. I don't know. But either way, it looks fun. So they're starting off strong, man. If they can get Silent Hill 2 Remake out, if Konami can get Silent Hill 2 Remake out in March and we get Rise of the Ronin, dude, if we get all four of I'm telling you, if we get all four of those games within the first 4 to 5 months, that's going to tell me that, dude, 2024 is going to be bonkers for PS5 exclusives, because Sony's going to have more stuff ready to talk about. Certainly. I'm expecting Sony to have a much better showcase next year compared to what they had. I'm just expecting them to do well, man. For the simple fact that I haven't I have my concerns about the direction they may end up going in, their long-term plan. I have concerns about who the new CEO might be and what they might want to pursue. But there's one thing I don't have much concern about, and that is, look, even if some of Sony studios internally have run into a little bit of turmoil, with some of the live service, it's not all of their studios. Certainly not. And, the reality is, for as good as PlayStation Studios has been over the years, they've still had problems. And that's that's normal. I don't want to talk about PlayStation Studios and what's happening with them as if it's not a normal occurrence in this industry. It absolutely is. Every publisher runs into some roadblocks with their studios and has some issues. Every development team has issues. This is all normal stuff. The real difference maker at the end of the day, to me, is how is it handled? Do they flounder and it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse until it collapses? Do they take care of it and correct it quickly and efficiently and get back on track? That, to me, at the end of the day, is the difference maker, because something that is a guarantee in this industry, development issues and management issues will happen. That's a guarantee throughout all industries, no matter what. The real difference maker at the end of the day is how it's handled. So, yeah, I'm assuming that Sony's doing exactly what they should be doing right now, which is handling the situation, taking care of business, course correcting, and I don't care what anybody says. Like, I have high hopes going into 2024. I do, because listen, I have encountered so many people this year. And I mean, I can't even count how many people I've encountered this year that have told me that, man, PlayStation sucks. And what makes me feel so disconnected from that person and what they're saying is I've only played on PlayStation this entire year. And while I've had a couple of issues with some of the things they've done, generally speaking, this was an awesome year for gaming on my PlayStation 5. And that, I know that I'm not saying that makes what that person said wrong. That's their opinion. That's subjective. But it's just, I guess what I'm saying is I've encountered many people, more than normal, saying that. And I just, it makes me feel like I'm just kind of, I don't know, am I in a bubble here, or am I ignorant to like some things that are happening? I don't think so. I pay pretty close attention. It hasn't been a perfect year, certainly not. And there were areas that needed to be improved. Like the first half of this year, Sony should have had something more significant game-wise. Definitely. Something more than Forspoken and, Horizon Call of the Mountain. But at the same time, there were so many third-party games to enjoy. It's like, well, it's kind of a funny situation where, of all the years for Sony to maybe not have the strongest game lineup, this was probably one of the better years, truthfully, because they could just be covered by these third-party bangers that are just coming out every single month. And they still, again, delivered Final Fantasy 16 with Square Enix and Spider-Man 2. And, I don't want to do like a year in review yet. I'm going to do that in December, where I want to have a stream dedicated to going over, many of the highs and lows for PlayStation in 2023. So I'm not going to go too deep into it here, but generally speaking, I had a good year with PlayStation. GR Cigar is saying Quantum Error. Yeah, don't forget Abandon 2024. Yeah, dude. Quantum Error. Look, what's weird, man, is I've been seeing people kind of go back and forth with this game, Quantum Error. Like, I've seen some PlayStation fans like defending it, and then I've seen like trolls kind of like obliterating it, and it's like, I just feel totally out of the loop, because I'm like, I don't know. Like, the only thing I know about Quantum Error is I just remember it was announced for the PS5 in 2020. Like that's actually all I remember. And that's it. And I think maybe I saw like a trailer or something pop up for it on the PlayStation channel, but I never watched it. Saying Quantum Errors. It seems like it's like, I'm not trying to crap on the game because I don't know, but it seems like it's not a very good game. Straight up. It just seems like it's not good. Like it's bad. But you know, I mean, they're an indie team. You're saying those devs like the console war? Yeah, I did see people mentioning that, and I don't know if I can't speak to. I don't follow them on Twitter or anything, so I can't speak to it. But that would be kind of weird if that's true. MBG, do you think Metal Gear Delta could be out next year? Since going by the rumors, the game has been in development since like 2019. Yes, I do. I do think that Metal Gear Solid Delta is targeting a 2024 release. I do. And I'm curious to know if Konami's planning on doing like collector's editions for like Silent Hill 2 Remake and Metal Gear Solid Delta. Because I'll definitely buy them if they are. Devil Shooter says console war or give their opinion. You know, now that you mention it, I think I have come across some articles in the past maybe where I do remember these developers talking about like how they were struggling with the Xbox version or something and talking about the PS5 SSD. Unless I'm confusing them with a different development team in a different game. Maybe that's what people are talking about. Is KOTOR Remake dead? I think it is. I don't know. I mean, there's nothing here to give us any kind of hope that it's not dead. But hopefully it's not dead. A lot of people were very excited about it, but maybe it's for the best. If it is. I mean, we want to be hopeful, but the development teams that were tasked to work on this KOTOR remake, Aspire, and then I think it moved over to Saber Interactive. It's clear that these teams were not up to the task, where the remake was expected to be much more modernized, more action focused, like basically a Final Fantasy VII level remake. And it's clear that these studios were not up to that task, seemingly. So I don't want to say it's completely dead, but it might be for a while until they find the right developer. So I will defeat Millennia every day till the Elden Ring DLC comes out. Who's interested in watching? I'm feeling pretty confident that the Elden Ring DLC is going to be announced at the Game Awards. And that'll be a pretty significant announcement. I'm curious to see it myself. Can't believe it's already been... Man. If the Elden Ring DLC comes out in February, that means Elden Ring has been out for 2 years. What? 2 years? How is that possible? That is so crazy to me, man. It feels like just yesterday Elden Ring came out. Unless I'm very confused. No, Elden Ring didn't come out this year. It came out in 2022, man. February 2022. What happened to that other Star Wars game, Eclipse? Is that still a thing? Apparently that is still a thing. It's just when it was announced, it was basically to hire people. That's how early in development it was. It's Elden Ring. Olden. Catch up, bro. Try Silent Hill Ascension, I dare you. I don't want to. I don't want to, man. I really don't. MBG, what past Activision game do you think Xbox should bring back? Personally, it's a tie between Tony Hawk and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and Guitar Hero. I will honestly have the utmost respect for Microsoft. Like you want to talk about seeing me actually give Microsoft basically being like, wow, bravo, man, is if they come out and they're like, we're bringing back classic Guitar Hero, right? Like we're going to do we're going to have the classic guitars. We're going to have amazing set lists. Maybe even we'll go all the way and bring back like Guitar Hero World Tour where you got the drums, mic, the whole band setup. And if they were very serious about that, I don't think they will. I'll be straight up. I don't think Microsoft has any. Then again, Bobby Kotick did say that they're bringing it back. Maybe he knew. Maybe Microsoft said that's what we want to do. That would be very exciting to me. I loved the Guitar Hero games. I loved Rock Band as well. So if Microsoft were to do that, I would be very happy. I mean, if they made it, I don't think they would make that exclusive, but if they did, I would absolutely buy an Xbox, and I would buy, if they did like a whole band bundle, hell yeah, I would. If they do it right, I'll buy it. And same thing with Tony Hawk. I know a lot of people want like Crash and Spyro. I'll be honest, I don't know. I'm just not into Crash and Spyro. I feel like that was like a kind of time and place thing for me growing up. Just not into them today. Tony Hawk, though, if they do decide, you know what, let's remake Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, I would love to see that. MBG, did you forget that Horizon Forbidden West came out the same month as Elden Ring? I did forget that, actually. Wow. Oh, man, that means Horizon's almost 2 years old. What is happening? Where's the time go? But you want Astrobot? I do want Astrobot, yeah. The thing about Crash and Spyro, though, is that, like, I haven't played... Well, first off, Spyro, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, they only did the remasters, right? Or the remakes. With Crash, they actually made Crash 4, which I never played. Maybe I would have loved Crash 4. That's the thing, is I never did buy Crash 4 or play it. Maybe I would love it, truthfully. What I do know is the latest Crash game they made, Crash Team Rumble, I had no interest in that whatsoever. That to me seemed kind of like, that look like, I even watched gameplay of it thinking maybe I would want to try it out. It just looked kind of boring to me. I'm like, I don't see the appeal here, frankly. I don't know. Maybe they'll make a Crash 5. Was it on PS Plus? I have to check. One of the things I remember hearing about Crash Bandicoot 4 is it was like apparently the game, it's complete torture to try to get the platinum. I remember hearing that, like it's a completionist nightmare or something. Saying Crash and Spyro had its time, gaming moved on. Yeah, the reason why I want an Astro game is, well, here's the thing. I never played Astro Rescue Mission. A lot of people said I should. There was a rumor that they're going to announce that coming to PSVR 2, which I will play if they do. My only experience with Astro was with Astro's Playroom. And one of the things that made Astro's Playroom so amazing to me was it was the love letter that it was to PlayStation in general, to PlayStation fans, to all the consoles. And I don't know if I'm expecting them to do that again with a sequel. Like if they make another Astro game, which I think they are, I'm not saying I expect them. I'm not saying I expect it to be another homage to PlayStation. I don't even know that would be necessary because Astro's Playroom covered everything. But it won me over. You know, I realized when I played Astro's Playroom, I thought it was just going to be like a very simplistic, basic, I don't want to say not fun, but just really something that was I wasn't going to feel much. It's just to show off some of the tech and, you know, to show you what the PS5's DualSense can do and whatnot and the speed of the SSD. And then as I was playing it, I'm like, dude, this is awesome. You know, this is a full game. This platforming is amazing. Like, it was awesome. It was a genuine surprise, man. So Yeah, that's true. When you're a kid, time runs slow. When you're grown up, time flies. Seems true, man. Seems true. Dream should have got a PSVR 2 update. Yeah, it's really unfortunate to see the way Sony kind of dropped the ball with Dreams. I think Dreams did have a lot of potential. And I never quite understood like why it got like a single push. Dreams got like one big push at the launch. And then Sony just like walked away from it and basically just told Media Molecule, like, you guys do what you want. That, like, to me, Media Molecule was a studio that was mismanaged. I think that game was not handled properly. MBG, it took me 300 hours to Platinum Crash 4. What? How is that even possible? That's insane. MBG, what are your leaker sources saying? I wish I could tell you, man. I dabbled in that. At least I tried to a little bit a while ago, and I realized, you know what? I don't trust this. I just don't, you know. I don't want to get burned. I don't want to play that game. Media Molecule did it to themselves. Maybe they did. Yeah, it could be. It could be. Maybe Sony had all these ideas and they were like, no, we want to do this instead. I will say this. I do hope to see Media Molecule. I hope to see them return to form, you know, and be able to start pumping out some games more frequently. Maybe, I don't know, new IP would be great from them. Something very, you know, just a traditional game. A traditional game. I think a lot of people would want to see that. I see Magnum Gaming here with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, buddy. You're saying playing Paradise Hotel VR feels like Resident Evil 1. The zombies, monsters, it is terrifying. And the chills became therapeutic after a while. Feels like a breeze. Really? Really? I don't know, man. You guys are really selling me on this. I don't know that if I'm going to try this game out, I don't know that I'm going to like jump into it like today or tomorrow, but I don't know. Maybe I will soon. You guys are really selling me on it. My question is, with this game, Paradise Hotel, is this an action? I mean, it's a horror game, but you're saying it reminds you of Resident Evil 1. Like, do you fight zombies and like creatures and stuff? Do you like use firearms or melee weapons or what do you do? You know what? Maybe let me bring it up here. What's it? Paradise Hotel. Paradise Hotel game. Let's see. Launch trailer. Let me just gonna watch this real quick. It's 51 seconds.
I'm scared I'll recognize people I know.
I know it's not up on screen for you guys. I just want to. It's 50 seconds.
We don't know if they're infected.
Oh wow. Yeah.
I need to find my sister.
I see what you mean about the Resident Evil 1 vibes.
We have to find Ashley and get the hell out of here.
Yeah, it looks good, man.
Whoa, what is that?
Interesting. Yeah, that does look pretty good. I know. I'm sorry I didn't bring it up on screen. Maybe I'll I feel bad. That's I feel bad. That's probably torture for you guys. You just hear it, can't see it. Let me Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to bring it up here so you can see it. All right. I'll play it again so we can all watch it.
I'm scared I'll recognize people I know.
Don't get too close. We don't know if they're infected.
I need to find my sister. We have to find Ashley and get the hell out of here. Whoa, what is that?
Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty good, man. That was Paradise Hotel. PSVR 2 game. Yeah, I'll definitely think about it, man. It looks stressful. It does look a little stressful. MEG, can you react to the YouTube video you brought up earlier? Let me see. Give me 1 second.
Hey everybody, how's it?
Sorry.
Hey everybody.
You guys just heard that twice. All right, let me bring this up. This is a really interesting video. Listen, it's a 25-minute video, but the only part we're going to watch, because it's separated into two halves, is about 12 minutes. Very interesting stuff here that I think is relevant to everybody talking about YouTube. Obviously, it's relevant to me, but I think it's relevant to the viewer as well. Let me bring it up here.
Hey, how's it going? I hope you're having a lovely day. My apologies that I haven't been showing up here as much as usual. I had lost my voice and I also had a pretty bad fever that I just got over, so I wasn't really in the mood to talk into a camera or talk at all. Today I want to go over an article that says YouTube's plan is backfiring. People are installing better ad blockers. And in this article, it's talking about how people's behavior is changing as a result of YouTube's experiment. One of the things that I talked about in a recent video that I did is that YouTube appears to be going to war with ad blockers. They are showing this thing on the screen that says if you watched more than 3 videos and you do not turn off your ad blocker, that they are going to disable your ability to watch videos on YouTube. And one of the rules of the internet tends to be don't tell the internet what to do. They will do the exact opposite. In the early days, I would tell people I was sick and tired of them calling me for repair advice for free if they didn't have a repair. And it just never stopped. People called in all the time. And then when I created videos showing people, here's exactly how to fix all your stuff for free. Here's 1,000 videos showing you exactly how to do it. So you please try and fix it yourself using all this information. Don't pay me for it. All these repair shops started sending me repairs and being willing to pay for it. It's just one of these things where, for better or worse, on the internet, people don't listen to you. And it takes a particular type of arrogance to order these mandates and imagine that people are actually going to listen to you when it comes to stuff like this on the internet. And it seems that people are choosing to install different ad blockers or better ad blockers or try ad blockers where they had not tried ad blockers before. According to this article, Christoph Madras of Ghostery, one of the more popular ad blockers in Chrome's extension store, says they've seen 3 to 5 times the amount of installs and uninstalls over the past month, with about 90% of the users who are uninstalling it citing the software failing on YouTube. Another ad blocker, AdGuard, said they usually see about 6,000 installations, but that shot up to 11,000 when it wasn't working. However, the paid version of the extension appears to actually be working and blocking advertisements on YouTube. And they say that their user counts increased, reaching about 60,000 on October 18th, which is a fairly high number for them in contrast to past rates. So it looks like people are not saying, okay, fine, I'll do what you're going to tell me, but they're immediately clicking off and experimenting. They're trying new things. They're trying new applications. They're trying new browsers. They're trying new extensions, and they're trying new ways to do it. And when people do videos on YouTube demonstrating different ways that you can view content, and those videos get struck or taken down, it seems like people tend to do the opposite of what YouTube is asking them to do, as you can see by this little graph over here, because it seems like a video may or may not have been deleted around here against the content creator's will, and it seems like the software, I'll let the graph speak for itself over there. The point that I don't see most of these articles addressing is the larger more important point, in my opinion, which is that a majority of the users of these platforms and a majority of internet users in general not only don't use an ad blocker, but don't even know what it is. Most of the people that watch this channel probably find that silly. You're probably like me. In 2001, you were using Mozilla 1.0.1 because it blocked third-party cookies and pop-ups and had tabs back when everybody else was using Internet Explorer 5 or 6 and had pop-ups and no tabs and viruses and third-party cookies and tracking. And you're probably like me. You were using an ad blocker over 10 years ago. But the reality is that most people, most ordinary users, use whatever the default experience is. So if the default experience is the browser that came with the computer, and that browser is filled with ads, or whatever, it's the most popular one, and that's filled with ads, and doesn't have a pop-up blocker or whatever else, that's what they use. Most people not only don't use an ad blocker, they don't even know what it is. Don't get me wrong, if you tell them I use an ad blocker, they'll know, oh, that must be something that blocks ads. But before you say that out loud, there are hundreds of millions of people probably in the United States that legitimately just don't understand that they can install that in their browser. And for us, it's very easy to get stuck in an echo chamber and stuck in our little niche community of believing that everybody thinks like us. I just look at the stats on my own channel. I tell people I have no problem with you using adblock. I tell people I don't think adblock is piracy. I've showed you videos on Brave browser and other browsers that do this by default.
You guys are saying it's lagging?
And an overwhelming portion of my audience still watches videos and views the ads. Not as many as other content creators with different audiences. I've compared my stats with other content creators, and my ad viewership rate and CPM rate is considerably lower than theirs, but it's high enough that I know a majority of my audience does not have an ad blocker installed. So when this shows up in the news, when this shows up in Wired and The Verge and Android Authority and Front Pages Reddit and shows up on all of these major news websites, you're going to have a lot of ordinary people go, you could block ads? That's a thing? You mean that's not like compiling Gentoo Linux in 2004? I literally just have to click 2 or 3 things and it's free? Wow. And that's the way I think that this is genuinely going to backfire on YouTube. Not just the fact that you're going to get people to use different ad blockers rather than listen to you, but rather that the large majority of your audience that had just kind of been sitting there silent, that didn't really even know what an ad blocker is now going to be woken up into realizing that they exist and that they can use them. There is something called the Streisand effect. When you try to delete something from history or you try to delete it from view, it tends to be viewed more often. And more importantly, when you try to tell people what to do as a mandate, they tend to do the opposite. It's one of those things that doesn't seem to work out very well. And I think the reason that people are pushing back against all of this is because they're realizing that the ad-supported internet fundamentally sucks in many different ways. This article.
All right. So before I continue this, this next segment that he's going to discuss, this to me is the most important part. Like, yeah, obviously we know YouTube is on a crusade against ad blocker, and it seems to be making things worse. But what he's about to say, like, dude, I'm glad this guy's video is doing well, and I hope at least it's something, because the whole next section he talks about is absolutely true. So listen closely.
Article from Wired says that Matthew Mayer, who oversees iOS ad blockers, says that surveys show that most users are not against ads entirely, but they're frustrated with ads that are intrusive, too numerous, or longer than 6 seconds without a skip option. Where the issue comes in is when they feel the line is overstepped. For instance, like I actually at one point in time paid for Bloomberg News. That's $40 a month for Bloomberg News. And when I would use their website, I would go to play a video and there would be an ad in the video. I'm giving you $40 a month. What in God's name makes you believe that you are entitled to give me an ad at that point and that I will still pay you? You are absolutely out of your mind and insane. Not only am I going to stop paying you, but I am also going to use an ad blocker and a paywall blocker to access your content, because what you've done, in my opinion, crosses a moral and ethical line. That's a shit way to treat your customers. And people are starting to recognize this. Even when it comes to product comparisons nowadays, I remember when the internet used to be a place where I could just get actual information from real world humans, and that just doesn't seem to be the case anymore. When I Google or try to find product comparisons, I don't find people talking about them anymore. I find garbage websites like this where I can't tell if this was generated by ChatGPT or somebody in a third world country making $1 a day to copy and paste specifications from a website. This is, in my opinion, I don't want to attack them, but kind of a useless website that is designed to drive traffic to Amazon via affiliate links so that they can make money off of affiliate links while providing providing the bare minimum information necessary to get a first page Google ranking so that Google thinks that this is actually a useful page when it is completely devoid of any human content. This is a problem with the modern internet. The content that rises to the top nowadays as everybody seeks out more ad revenue is not content that is actually useful to the end user, but rather it is content that is going to get the most clicks, whether by hook or by crook. When it comes to YouTube, content like the content that Jessa Jones, Afrotech Mods, EEV Blog, STS Telecom, Tim Herman at TCRS Circuit, Jesse Cruz, all these people that make amazing content that teaches you how to do very difficult repairs in an interesting and engaging way, is content that people, in my opinion, would be willing to pay for. This is content where they learn something genuinely useful. People would pay for that content, but it has a lower viewership than tech racks throwing a phone down a staircase or lighting bugs on fire. As a result, that content that nobody in their right mind is willing to pay for, but that can get the most clicks because it will give you a cheap laugh, or because it is sensational, or because it will make you angry, is the content that does the best. And the content that gets the most viewership, regardless of its actual value in an ad-supported marketplace, is the content that rises to the top, which is why I am more than happy to accept the label of, quote, extremist if being anti-advertising makes me extremist. In my opinion, the advertiser-supported internet is reaching that late stage where the content that rises to the top is not the best content, but in many cases is simply the content that will make you the angriest or give you a cheap laugh, and is not necessarily the content that is even healthy for you to be consuming. But that's what we are encouraging when we use that, which is why, as a creator that has almost 2 million subscribers, where over 99% of my revenue on YouTube is ad revenue, I have no problem with you using AdBlock. Not only do I have no problem with you using AdBlock, but I encourage you to use AdBlock because I don't think we're encouraging a better internet the way that we are doing it right now. I stand by my assertion that I genuinely believe that YouTube is not a profitable company, and that the reason that they are doing this is because they are looking for pennies in the couch at this point, because they've run out of ways to try and raise revenue and decrease expenses so that they can actually make more money. I genuinely believe that the advertiser-supported internet in many ways is not even financially viable, and only even worked because it was fueled by investor money, fueled by rock-bottom interest rates over the past 15 years that are going away. And I would strongly suggest that creators consider alternative streams of revenue when they're providing value to their audience if you want to do this as a full-time job. I don't do YouTube as a full-time job, but if I did, I would look for every single way possible to avoid this. I would listen to the feedback that I was getting from my users that they genuinely despise advertisements, and I would also provide them honest feedback myself, which is I am putting a full-time level of effort into this. Life is very expensive now. How do you want, if you genuinely find this valuable, what do you think we can do to make this work? Yes, I make YouTube content, and I put a good amount of time into making YouTube content, but I don't have it in me to bullshit you. I use an ad blocker. Like on my own computer. For me to tell you to not use an ad blocker when I use an ad blocker because I find ads to be annoying would be the most hypocritical thing imaginable, given how much that I hate ads. I don't have it in me to do that to you when I tell you that I find ads annoying. When I show you my screen with LibreWolf installed, with uBlock Origin or Brave browser with privacy filters turned on, and then I tell you you shouldn't use ad block because that's piracy. It comes off as so hypocritical, knowing that that is not what I'm doing. I send money to the creators that have created content that I find to be valuable, and I support them in every which way that I can. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to tell you to not use an ad blocker when I personally find ads annoying myself. And I think that YouTube is putting themselves in for a very interesting war here with the ad blockers because A, the internet is going to find a way to get around the ads if they really want to. And more importantly, I think that they are going to really mess with the embedded devices, many of them that are using applications that are not going to be updated on older Android devices, Fire TV, smart TVs, and everything else that have a YouTube app built in. How many of those devices are going to have their internal YouTube app and functionality broken if YouTube implements enough stuff to try to get around ad blockers? YouTube is very limited in what they can do here because they want the maximum amount of viewership on the maximum amount of devices possible, which can break if they try to put in all this extra shit to try to detect if you're using an ad blocker. As someone who still makes money from YouTube ad revenue, I still genuinely believe that we would be better supported and we'd have a better community as a whole with a different model. And I think it's going to be incumbent on us to figure it out. I think what Google and many other companies did in the early 2000s is they listened to us bicker back and forth on how a world-class music album from our favorite musician was not worth $15 because $15 for a CD was a ripoff. But they realized the same people that would call $15 for a world-class album a ripoff were willing to spend $3 to $4 at Starbucks every day for the shittiest coffee I've ever tasted in my life. And they thought, okay, nobody's willing to pay for this. What else can we do? And I honestly think that this all started going downhill with Gmail in 2004. They realized that as long as we give you 1 gigabyte of free storage and a fast client, that we can literally go through all of your emails and advertise to you based on your most personal communications, and everybody's okay with it. We set the stage for this by saying no to paying for things at every step of the way, but being more than happy to pay with our privacy and our information. And as much as we hate the advertiser world that we live in right now, I think it's incumbent on us as users, viewers, and consumers to take a really harsh look in the mirror and understand that we have a place in the internet of today that we live in, which is completely advertiser supported based on our behavior over the past 25 years. I think we have sent the message that we are not willing to pay for anything, but again, give me a gigabyte of free storage and I'll let you have access to every personal conversation I've ever had for the purpose of advertising to me. The honest to God red pill is that there isn't some sort of crazy conspiracy, but rather that the world is the way it is because of us. And if we want this to change, we are going to have to be a part of that change, and we are going to have to come up with better models. And I am committed to coming up with better models, and I am committed to being a part of that change so that the type of asshole that gave the speech that he did at this conference does not get the world that he wants, but we get the world that we want. That's it for today. And as always,
Wow, man. I mean, first off, I don't know how this guy can talk that way, but it's impressive to just keep it going. But he's absolutely right, man. This was pretty significant to me because I've noticed this as a YouTube content creator where I told you guys one of the reasons why I wanted to start streaming more often and engaging with my audience directly is because I was hoping to seek out some like direct support, which is exactly what you guys have provided, which is why I give you all the thanks in the world and shout you guys out as much as I do, because I did notice that shit on YouTube is getting worse, like by the day, by the month, by the year. And I've been doing YouTube for a while. You guys know this, and it has actually gotten to a point of what seems to be lunacy, like just Looney Tunes level shit, where what he said about the stuff that rises to the top based on the most amount of attention, the most amount of viewership, because it's driven by ad revenue, is so unbelievably and sadly true that he said everything. This idea, that, we're reaching the end stage of an advertisement-based model here. And especially when he mentioned how it just seems like Google in the early days, like, was seeing how people weren't willing to pay $15 for a CD, and people just basically aren't willing to pay for things anymore. And so there has to be another way. And it's like, well, we found this new thing where like we can give you this maybe for free or for less, but you got to give us something. And it kind of harkens back to what I've been trying to say for a while now, which is like, there's always a price to be paid, man. There's always a price to be paid. Like if you're getting something, it's not going to be for free. Nothing's for free. Even like right now, right? Like even people who are watching, whether it's my stream or other content, I mean, even if you're not funding that content, you still are giving one of the most valuable things, which, thank you guys, is your time. I mean, you could argue time is the most valuable currency in this life. And, that's why I always thank you guys just for watching in general. But this is absolutely true, man. And, I know he went on the whole ad block thing, and I'm indifferent to that. If you use ad blocker, you use it. If you don't, you don't. I mean, I personally don't use it. I pay for YouTube Premium, and I use YouTube Music, which is a nice benefit with that. But it's like, I thought what he said there towards the second half was like way, way more relevant, where it's like, there's a bigger problem here. The bigger problem is that, like, let's face it, guys, like most of the content that rises to the top is just trash. Not all of it. Don't get me wrong. Like there are definitely people out there doing good work, creating great content, but a lot of it, like a scary amount of it, is like, this is just trash, you know? But it's trash that gets people angry. It's trash that, again, is sensationalized. It's trash that gets people, it gives them a quick laugh, right? As he said, like, he's hitting the nail on the head. Absolutely. And it's just it's unfortunate, man. I do wonder what it is the race to the bottom. It is. And honestly, guys, like, this video was so interesting for me to watch because I've told you guys that ever since I started streaming more, and we start doing membership gifting, and you guys have always supported me with like super chats, and I never felt comfortable like asking you guys like, hey, do you think you could watch the advertisements? Could you click the advertisements for me so I can get more ad revenue? It always felt like I'm never gonna ask anybody to do that because that's just weird, like. But the idea of, hey, I like doing this, and there's an audience here. You guys seem to enjoy this as well. Maybe we can get a good thing going here. And I feel again incredibly lucky, very blessed. I have an incredible audience, an incredible community, and maybe, I don't know, maybe this is the future. Maybe this should be the future of content creation to an extent, right? Or like on certain platforms where it's like, maybe it should be less ad driven. It should be less, like one of the things I'll tell you guys right now that YouTube has been pushing for me to do, and I'm sure every other streamer, is YouTube. They didn't used to do this, where when I set up a stream, it asks me, it like presents to me a new screen where it's like, and they set this up, I think like a couple months ago, where it wants you to pick like how your ads are going to be distributed. And they kind of hide the last one at the bottom where it says like, I will, like, I'm not going to do that during the course of the stream. Like there's only going to be one initial ad when somebody clicks on it. But what YouTube wants to do is try to, like, they actually have a system in place where you can put it like automatically, where they'll just put out ads when they see fit. And I just felt like, I'm like, I get it. Like that is obviously helpful to me and to creators, but like, I don't know, man. People are showing up live to the stream. They probably already have to watch an ad just to get into the stream. A lot of you guys, again, are supporting me literally directly in the stream. It's like, I'm not going to do that. And it feels weird because it's like, again, YouTube kind of is pushing that, but I'm like, it's fine, man. Like you guys support me a lot. And that to me just feels wrong to try to do something like that. I see the shadow of my water bottle there. But this to me is very concerning about where YouTube is headed, and I mean, maybe where it is now, and what's going to happen next. But YouTube crash incoming. I mean, I hope not, man. Because that's the thing, is like, I'm settled in here, and this is where my audience, like, I've thought about it. People have said, should you go to Twitch, Patreon, something like that? Rumble. I don't know if I would go to Rumble. I'm not familiar with Rumble. But I never felt like I had to, because I'm like, well, this is where my audience is. This is where I grew my audience. And I don't want to see YouTube crash. I just think that there has to be a better way. I do. I think there has to be a better way. And I do think that what YouTube's doing, where I notice YouTube is getting more into like, they're more encouraging now with like trying to encourage communities to gift memberships and create a membership community, which is nice. But I think there's more that they have to do. And I don't know that this pursuit of blocking people who are using, like what he said at the beginning, where it's like, do you know how many people you just told about ad block that had no idea this was even a thing? Now they're going to go try to use it or find a way. Yeah. I mean, it's like, I don't know. Dan, you're saying you feel like it's overblown as a consumer. I noticed no difference with or without an ad block. It's not that big of a deal. Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is like, since I pay for YouTube Premium, I haven't experienced ads on YouTube in a long time. I will say they have annoyed me in the past. And And there was like a brief period of time where like, because I needed a new card or something, my premium expired and I started getting ads on whatever YouTube videos I would watch. And, you know, it's like once you get used to not having ads, that's when it becomes problematic. Like you get used to not having ads, and then it's oh wow, I got to go back to YouTube Premium or something. Or I imagine it's similar with. Cat just made me smash my hand into my desk because he's chewing my wire. Stop ruining my stream, Leia. Sorry. But yeah, I don't know, man. I just thought that was a really interesting video, and you know, it truthfully, it makes me extremely thankful for you guys, more than anything, because I did tell you guys how one of the things that having an audience here that is willing to support me directly has enabled me to do is to not worry about that race to the bottom. You know, I don't have to worry. Yeah, like I don't have to worry about doing a Raid Shadows Legends fucking ad, which I get people are going to do it. I'm not throwing shade at them. I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't want to do that if I didn't have to. And I'm glad I don't have to. And that's because of you guys, you know, and I see how much people have to, it's the rat race, you know, where it's like, I got to make my thumbnail the most clickbait and the most insane. And I got to have the most over the top shit. And it's like, oh my God, like I can hardly watch YouTube anymore. Truthfully, because almost all the shit that I come across, I'm like, what is this? Like, what happened, man? What happened? That's not all of it, but it's the overwhelming majority of it at this point. And, you know, look, I'm not saying my content here is the most high production value or the most exciting or extreme. It's not, but I like, I don't know, to me, that's why I like doing this, because and that's why I'm sure you've noticed I've been streaming more, because it's like, dude, YouTube is like punishing my videos, right? You guys have seen, I've tried to make news videos where in the thumbnail, I actually just straight up list the topics we're talking about. And YouTube punishes that. YouTube punishes that because it's like, where's the clickbait? Where's the big face in the thumbnail? Where's the exclamation points? Where's the drama? It's like, there is none. This is just news. Like, this is the information. And people are becoming so conditioned to expect that they don't even appreciate people just, you know, just giving straight information anymore, which, what are you going to do, you know? But all I can say is I'm extremely grateful for you guys, and I'll be real right now. Not that I ever wasn't being real, but I guess what I mean to say is I'll be blunt in that I have discovered that I enjoy streaming like way more than making videos, you know, because it's so much more personal, and it allows me to just be much more of myself, and more importantly, it frees me from that ridiculous pressure of like, man, how do I need to get as many people in as possible. I hate that. I hate that, because it's like, dude, that right there is it's a pure temptation to, again, sensationalize, find a way to make people angry, so on and so forth. And that's why I appreciate you guys so much. And, you know, I do enjoy streaming so much. Devil Shooter, you're saying, MBG, I honestly believe that people that hate on you is affecting your channel. Oh, I want to say it probably is, but I don't know. And I don't care, man, because it's like, they're part of the problem too, man. I've always said it, and I'll continue to say it. Like, if you have to, and I know it's ironic because I just reacted to this guy's video, but to be fair, we spent like the first 3 hours of this stream, it's just me talking to my audience. All right. I don't care if I offend anybody when I say this, and I don't care if they care, but if you have to rely on watching other people for your entire stream or more than half of your stream and reacting to what other people are saying, you're a bad content creator. Like you have nothing original to say. And if you did try to say something original, you probably are afraid that people would leave. If you don't bring the drama, if you don't bring the hate, if you don't bring the clownery, whatever it is, they're going to leave. And it's like, that's why I've always given my audience as much credit as I do, because you guys, I mean, of course we get, I go on my rant sometimes. There's some entertainment value to be extracted on occasion from the channel, no doubt about that. But you guys are here for the same fucking reason that I'm even starting the stream in the first place. And that is, we care about the gaming industry. We focus mainly on PlayStation. We talk about Xbox. We talk about Nintendo. But that's mainly our love for gaming, for PlayStation, and for diving deep, man. And you guys are here for that. And you help me with that. You guys I'm engaged with you guys in the conversation, And it's just, it's very, again, I'm very thankful for that. I mean, it's not, I don't look at it as like, oh, I'm just a great content creator because I can hold an audience by talking for 3 hours. No, dude, more than half of that is you guys too. It's a two-way street here. I'm just so thankful that I'm not in a position where it's like, oh, who am I going to react to today? Did this person make a stupid video yet? What if they didn't? Well, what's the drama of the day? Like, I'm so thankful, truly. I don't have to do that because that sucks. And believe me, I'm telling you this as a YouTube content creator, okay, who does this pretty much every day, certainly every week. The people who do that are very scared. They are very nervous every week when they go to do their streams or when they go to make their videos. They are very nervous that when they're looking around, what if the drama isn't there? Or what if the drama isn't as strong? Right? Who am I going to rely on? That's the question they're asking. Who am I going to rely on? You're saying competition? Well, I mean, technically, it's all competition. Anybody who's technically anybody who's talking about video games on YouTube is competition. But it's just crazy to me, man. It's crazy to me, like what YouTube as a platform has driven people to do at this point. Come here. Come on, Leia. I'm gonna throw my water. Leia, go away. Sorry, Leia's being weird in the corner. It's just sad to me what the race to the bottom and the sensationalization and the drama and the anger, what it has driven people to do in order to find attention and build an audience and even have an audience in the first place. It shouldn't be so over the top. It shouldn't have to be. And yet, most of the time it is. So, what are you going to do, man? What are you going to do? But either way, what I can say is we're rapidly approaching the 3.5 hour mark. Definitely longer than I thought it would go today. I hope YouTube can figure it out. Hassan is the source of MVG success. Yeah, that was crazy. That was over the top. That definitely was over the top. But guys, I think this is where I'm actually going to end this stream. And I think it was a really fun stream. I enjoyed all the conversations we had. I think we had some pretty interesting topics today. Not a whole lot going on right now in the gaming industry. Things have kind of quieted down. I suspect it's going to ramp up as we get closer to the Game Awards, and I'm looking forward to that. That'll definitely be an interesting time. But I'm going to continue to stream here and continue to, hang out with you guys, talk to you guys. And before I go, I absolutely have to give you a massive thank you. I know, again, I sound like a broken record all throughout the stream, but we are sitting at 83 channel members today. The goal was 25. 25 is already a high goal. And thanks to some very generous community members and people who care very much about this channel, about our community here, we're sitting at 83, which is an incredible number. Certainly not what I was expecting, but just goes to show how awesome you guys are. And quite a few super chats as well. Some super chats, I think, took us in some very interesting directions. But either way, if you're watching my content, if you're liking the content, and especially if you are supporting it directly through memberships, gifts, or super chats, You guys are incredible. Thank you so much. And I see we have Nia Weasley, member for 6 months. He says, hey, MBG, attended BlizzCon this weekend to see Phil Spencer talk an interesting WoW expansion, $40 more for 3 days early access. Ah, yes, $40 for the early access. Is that $40? You're saying it's $40 more for 3 days early access. Is that all you get? I have to imagine you get more than that. I did see that, though. I did see that that Phil Spencer talked on stage, and it's not that surprising. I mean, yeah, I feel like it was kind of something he had to do, acknowledge the elephant in the room. Like, yeah, we own Blizzard now. They're part of Xbox. There's actually something that Phil Spencer said recently that we'll probably talk about tomorrow, among other things. So, Nia Weasley, I hope you had a good time at BlizzCon, man. And thank you for being a member of the channel for 6 months. But yeah, that does it, guys. One last shout out is to Devil Shooter. He does the timestamps on all of the streams. If you see him dropping the timestamps comment, please do me a favor. Give him a thank you. Show him some love. I know he really appreciates that, and he does great work for the community here. So, Devil Shooter, thank you as always. Salute to you, my friend. And that's it. That does it for today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a good rest of your day. And I will catch you guys here tomorrow. But that does it. Until then, guys, take care.